So there's big news out of New York right now. There's a viral video. Apparently there was a shooting. Someone got shot in the head. There's video of it, not of the shooting, but of the aftermath of people hiding in the subway cars. And it's a pretty wild story. I think when you see stuff like this at a time when they've called in the National Guard shows, their policies aren't working. Their security apparatus is not working. They're likely going to double down. It's going to get crazy. And Donald Trump has repeatedly said he will win New York. Maybe he will. Maybe he will. I don't know if there. I think there's some updates in California pertaining to the Senate race, but we'll see how things are changing as crime is out of control in this country. The corporate press keeps lying about it, and at a time when we know that it is the fault of the Democrats, namely the Biden administration, that we're having this criminal alien influx that even Democrats in major cities are upset with. What do we get? The Biden administration put out a statement pushing the Nex Benedict hate crime hoax. For those that aren't familiar, Nex Benedict was a teenager identified as non-binary, and the media claimed it was the fault of libs of TikTok. This individual was beaten to death. It's a sad story. But the reality is Nex Benedict committed suicide, and completely unrelated to the incident in the school they claimed. The initial story they put out was a lie. Body camera footage, security camera footage, all of this debunked the narrative. And now, facing the debunking of their hate crime hoax, Joe Biden doubles down and issues a big public statement on it. Considering the president has just issued this statement, we're going to start off with that, and we're going to debunk it. But we'll talk about a lot. Apparently, we've had one of our members calling in and mentioning Gamergate 2.0. My response was, there's been a Gamergate 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. There have been a whole bunch of reigniting of the Gamergate narrative. And now the corporate press has decided this is officially Gamergate 2.0, a story related to a company called Sweet Baby Inc. And Wired wrote a big article, and they're roping in everybody, and they're trying to make this narrative happen. I have to assume the attempt by the corporate press to resurrect the Gamergate narrative they're trying to win some points against Trump or something like that. Harassment campaigns, whatever. There's a bunch of news pertaining to Trump. Fani Willis may be held in contempt of Congress. We'll see. But we do have a lot of stories to get to, and we will get to those. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy Cast Brew coffee. Pick up your Appalachian Nights while you can, because, man, this stuff sells out quick. And, of course, our Mr. Bokus Pumpkin Spice Experience will be retiring. In honor of Mr. Bokus, we will be creating a new blend and retiring the old one. And pick it up while you can. There will no longer be a Mr. Bokus Pumpkin Spice Experience after we sell out of these few remaining bags. I think there's a couple thousand. They're still available, so it's not they're going anywhere anytime soon, but get it while you can. Also, head over to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member to support our work directly. And you get access to our members-only Discord server and our uncensored members-only shows that will be Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. We've got one of those coming up tonight. You don't want to miss it. Not so family-friendly. And you as members actually get to call into the show and talk to us and our guest. So I highly recommend it, because you got to get in now if you want to submit those questions. You'll need to sign up at the $25 per month level now, or be a $10 per month member for at least 6 months. It's a basic screening process. We tried to make it easier for our team to find good questions and avoid the far left crazies and other people who are trying to come in and mess with us. So don't forget to also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else is Corey DeAngelis.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Tim.
Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, I'm a senior fellow at the American Federation for Children. I fight to fund students, not systems, what most people call school choice. And you can find our website. It's afcvf to help us, .com to help us in the fight for education freedom. Again, Corey DeAngelis, senior fellow, American Federation for Children. Thanks.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. We got Hannah Claire hanging out.
Hey, I'm happy to be back. I'm Hannah Claire Brimla. I'm a writer for scnr.com. Libby's here tonight.
I'm here. I'm hanging out. Nice to see you, Hannah Claire, Corey, Tim. I'm Libby Emmons. I am the editor-in-chief with the Post Millennial. Glad to be here.
And I'm Serge.com, and I'm ready when you are, Tim.
It's Pie Day.
It is.
Yeah. I ordered, I think, let me count real quick. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pies.
What kind
I think
of
I got
pies?
more than that. Oh, you name it. I bought all the pie you could buy.
Boston
we got
cream pie?
peach. They didn't have that.
Okay.
So they had peach, cherry, apple, wild blueberry, We got coconut cream, banana cream, a second banana cream, but this one was like a fake banana cream. It was kind of weird.
What's a fake banana cream?
It's banana flavored cream.
That's nasty.
Yeah, that was not my intention.
Why did you get 10 pies? Did you add
It's
up?
pie day.
You add up certain numbers of the pie, 3.14.
I got one of each pie the supermarket had for Pie Day. And then
I got here at I ate right before coming here, so it was a mistake. I didn't get to try any of your pies.
Yeah. I think the apple and the blueberry, those are the ones that people really like.
I feel like those are the most classic.
But we got like a chocolate satin. All right, let's talk about news. Happy Pie Day, everybody. This is from the Post Millennial. Biden calls to end discrimination against transgender children after Democrats spread false narrative about Nex Benedict's death. You know, the story is particularly important because if it was not caught by people like libs of TikTok and by the likes of the Post Millennial, this could have very well been George Floyd for leftist gender ideology. I want to show you what Joe Biden said. We have this. Biden presents this statement. In memory of Nex, we must recommit our work to end discrimination and address the suicide crisis impacting too many non-binary and transgender children. The issue at play. Nex Benedict dies. 16-year-old female, identifies as non-binary. The narrative pushed by the left and a bunch of NGOs was that Nex Benedict was beaten to death for being trans or non-binary. They blamed libs of TikTok. Body camera footage came out and revealed that Nex Benedict was the aggressor who started the fight. The police said, well, I'd have to arrest you because you're the one who started the fight. Then it was later reported, or I believe the following day, that Nex's death was unrelated to the fight that happened in the school, which lasted, according to security cameras, less than around 20 seconds. Let's be fair, around 20 seconds. So nothing particularly serious. The left still maintained this could have been related to the beating, and we don't know yet, so stop jumping to conclusions. Oh boy, they attacked me for that when I posted with I can't remember, it was a local news outlet, an affiliate, said it's unrelated to the incident. They said Tim Pool's lying. We don't know what happened. When it came out that Nex committed suicide, the White House intervenes to maintain the hate crime hoax, and now it turned it into, oh, what a crisis. But the one thing I want to say before we read this, Democrats are the ones who have created the crisis and are acting like they're the ones fighting it. Child desistance rates, not detransition, desistance, meaning a child who identifies as transgender or displays gender dysphoria has a high, maybe 65% to around 95% chance of desisting by puberty. That means if you do nothing, by the time the child goes through puberty, they just accept themselves, they align with their bodies, and they lead a good life. If you intervene with quote unquote gender affirming care, you increase the chance of suicide by something like 30%. That's a fact. And now Democrats are acting like they must fight it when they're the ones who are pushing for it. And I must stress, in England, they've now banned the use of puberty blockers for children. Biden says, Jill and I are heartbroken by the recent loss of Nex Benedict. Every young person deserves to have the fundamental right and freedom to be who they are and feel safe and supported at school and in their communities. Nex Benedict, a kid who just wanted to be accepted, should still be here with us today. And I'll agree with that. It's sad that Nex committed suicide. Non-binary and transgender people are some of the bravest Americans I know, but nobody should have to be brave just to be themselves. In memory of Nex, we must all recommit to our work to end discrimination and address the suicide crisis impacting too many non-binary and transgender children. Bullying is hurtful and cruel, and no one should face the bullying that Nex did. Parents and schools must take reports of bullying seriously. My prayers are with Nex's family, friends, and all who loved them, and to all the LGBTQI plus Americans for whom this tragedy feels so personal, know this, I will always have your back. To LGBTQI young people across the country, you are loved exactly as you are. If you're feeling overwhelmed or alone, you can call or text 988, the National Crisis Hotline, and dial the number 3 to talk to a counselor who has been specifically trained to support LGBTQI plus youth. If they were not pushing the ideology that was causing harm to these kids, this would not be happening. And more importantly, according to the body camera footage, Nex Benedict was the bully. That's just it. The police said, you started the fight. As the story goes, there were some kids sitting at a different table, and they were laughing about something the other kids were doing. Nex Benedict took it upon herself to physically accost by filling up a bottle of water and splashing it on these girls she didn't like. And then when they got into a fight over it, Nex got mad. We don't know if that has anything to do with what happened, but the next day, Nex Benedict committed suicide. It's a sad story, but Nex Benedict was the bully. That's it. Sorry. They're lying.
Well, they're lying about something else too, which is when they say that they love LGBTQIA plus youth just the way they are. They don't actually mean that.
Because they want them to change.
Because they want them to change. They don't love them exactly how they are, existing in their own bodies and going through their lives and growing up whole. They love them with drugs and surgeries, and so it's just an outright lie.
Yeah, I wish I had the data on who kills more trans people. Hate crime hoaxes or hate crimes or suicide. I think suicide is more dangerous.
Yeah, but the thing about the suicides as well, and we've seen this in reporting, and it's been coming out all over the place with the WPATH files, which was such an interesting project to read through. It shows that, and so also Abigail Schreier has come out with this new book called Bad Therapy, basically saying, why are kids more screwed up now when there's more mental health resources than anything else? Maybe it's the mental health resources that are the problem. And in a lot of cases, that's what's going on. The further these kids get into this process and being processed through the mental health system, and you see this with like the social emotional learning and all of this stuff.
I think a lot of the kids are getting confused at a really young age. And I like how you pointed out, Libby, that they don't love you for who you are. And they're confusing kids when they're really young to change. Oh, you're not actually a boy. Maybe you're a girl. Oh, the doctor said you were a boy when you were born, but that's just your assigned sex at birth.
Right.
It's not actually
another lie.
What you
well,
are.
That's
so
why I found the line where he's like, contact the national hotline. Great national hotline. Obviously, we want teens that are at risk to get help. But then he says, and press 3 to go to someone who is specifically trained to talk to someone who is trained to work with LGBTQ letters youth. That scares me. What are they trained to tell them? What are they trained to do? Because I bet it's to encourage them to pursue surgery, to pursue hormones, to divest themselves from their family. If their parents are saying like, we love you, but we don't want you to go through this. We want you to accept yourself for who you are. Like the message that comes from these mental health professionals, I don't want to say all of them. I don't know all of them, but it's to me seems likely that the federal government wants to continue this trend.
Real quick. I think this is an important thing to address too. It was reported, I think the New York Times said suicide. Is that correct?
that's what I've
New York
heard
Times?
that too.
The New York Times said suicide.
Because I've also heard overdose.
Well, it was
A suicide
it was,
by
it
overdose.
looked like it was a
Suicide by
suicide.
overdose?
The toxicology. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Suicide simply means you died by your own actions. The question is, was it an issue of Nex intentionally trying to die, or was Nex trying to get high?
It's an interesting question. The police department came out and said there was always evidence in this case that it was a suicide, which makes me think that there's maybe a note or there's something else that we're not aware of. And the coroner in their preliminary report before we got the toxicology report said, there is no evidence that that the injuries or the death was caused in relation to trauma sustained during the fight.
Right. Well, that was the first thing.
That was the first thing. Then it was the toxicity. And then the police said.
So the question I have, and this is an important distinction, people will often see in the media that someone died and it was ruled a homicide. And people think homicide means murder. It does not. Homicide means killed by man. So
Could have been an accident.
Could have been an accident, or it could have been intentional. I'm wondering if when they report overdoses, they list it as a suicide, meaning killed by self. There's a distinction between someone who says, I'm very depressed, I can no longer take this anymore, and ends their life, and a 16-year-old who's like, time to get high.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think we know the distinction yet.
Do we define earmuffs for the family? Earmuffs, that's your warning. Do we list autoerotic asphyxiation as a suicide? That's an honest question. I mean, that's why I said
I would say
earmuffs.
that's a suicide, but you wouldn't say it's an intentional suicide.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like involuntary suicide.
And I think state coroners might have some variation in how much detail they release. But again, like the fact that the police said this phrase of there was always evidence in this case that this was a suicide makes me think it's beyond just what, I think that there was something else. And when the report comes out,
they would have said
week.
overdose.
Right.
Yeah, they said it was from diphenhydramine and fluoxetine.
So
which I think was
those?
basically like Benadryl.
Yeah, it's like Benadryl and an antidepressant. Am I
Benadryl
wrong?
and SSRIs.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Fluoxetine, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, so if
it's
she
a
was
major
on
depressive
SSRIs,
disorder, approved for major depressive disorder.
I wonder if she was
Obsessive
on those.
compulsive disorder, bulimia, binge eating.
What are the odds? I would take that bet.
PMDD, even.
Didn't the parents at one
What's
point...
PMDD?
Post-menstrual dysphoria. No, hold on.
Dysphoria? That doesn't
Dysphoric
work.
disorder, yeah. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder.
Okay.
What is that?
It's
I
like
don't know. Is that
extreme PMS kind of, except there's like other agitations come with it. Women are crazy, man. And it's interesting that if that was why it was prescribed, that would definitely confirm some estrogen. But I mean, I saw it listed initially as Nex, or reported as Nex overdosed on Benadryl Prozac, which Prozac obviously would be.
Right.
But
I bet that's what it is.
So we have no evidence of a history of bullying. We have no evidence of anything that Biden is claiming. It's just interesting how the left jumped on this story without evidence, saying that she died because she was beat up at school, and then it must have been because bullying. And you can just tell, like, the left does whatever they can to try to cancel libs at TikTok. They do it with they say that she caused bomb threats at school, that she's causing all of these things just by sharing videos of liberals on TikTok doing things that are absolutely insane.
There is an argument for bullying. In the body camera footage, Nex and her mother are saying, like, these girls have been doing this stuff before. There's a history of it. But based on at least the report we have, the logical conclusion is these are teenagers in high school who are fighting with each other. Mm-hmm. It is not, based on the fact that Nex was the one who started the fight, I don't think it's necessarily indicative of, like, oh no, I'm being bullied, help, why won't they stop? It's Nex got mad that they were sitting at a different table and laughing about something about them. And so she got up, filled up a water bottle. They went in the bathroom, apparently, and she splashed the girl in the face. Mm-hmm. So it's like, sounds more like mutual disdain, if you would. The side that ends up losing out is going to claim they're being bullied, whichever side it was.
I mean, and when the story broke, one of the first things I thought of is like, if this person dies because of injuries sustained by this fight, which, by the way, the Human Rights Campaign has a message still on their website saying Nex succumbed to the injuries from the fight.
Really?
And yes, this is still up. I pulled it from my story for
It's not true.
Scanner today. It's not true. I'll send you the link if you want. But like, it's wild to me. It's a message from February 21st. But when this all came out,
February 21st is when the police first said that that she did not die from
yes, how interesting, right?
fight injuries.
But when this came out, I kept thinking about these, 2 or 3 high school girls that were involved in the fight, and like, are they going to be brought up on murder charges for a fight they didn't start, for someone who didn't die of injuries related to anything that happened?
If libs of TikTok didn't call this out, if other news outlets, Post-Millennial, weren't calling this out, these girls would probably be criminally charged because there'd be protests across the country screaming, and then a month later, people would go, oh, that's what really happened, but it wouldn't matter. This got debunked right away. Yeah. And that prevented them from pulling off their, George Floyd-esque gender ideology.
Right, and no one
hoax.
intentionally leaked they're minors, so you're not supposed to use their names anyways, but like nobody intentionally leaked their names. I'm sure there are people in their community who might know who was involved in this fight, but you could have really ruined these girls' lives over something that they ultimately, it sounds like the person who was involved had a lot bigger demons and a lot going on.
Look at this. This is HRC. 16-year-old non-binary high school student who tragically died after a school beating.
Yeah,
the real story
technically
is
correct because it was after.
But it's not. It's not correct. There's no beating.
Yeah,
Right.
And the preliminary-
that would be their defense.
Surveillance footage shows her and other girls walk into a bathroom for about 20 seconds, and they all walk out. A teacher runs in. Maybe they were yelling. She splashed her in the face. She got hit. They walk out. And then later, they call it a beating to try and get the girls arrested. And the cop's like, but you started the fight. And she's like, okay, whatever.
Right. And the preliminary coroner's report said that this person's death did not occur because of trauma sustained during this fight. Like, it is not related to the fight was the first thing we knew for sure from the medical examiner, who, by the way, is the only person who really would have the facts as far as I can tell.
Tomorrow, NBC News is going to write, Tim Pool and far right push lie accusing Nex, blah, blah, blah. They did this thing. It was really funny. Matt Walsh tweeted about it. So I tweeted, murder, chaos, cannibalism. This is Haiti. Look at El Salvador. Trump called both of them ishholes. The media attacked Nayib Bukele. Which country would you rather live in? The one they said was already great, or the one they attacked, Nayib Bukele? Look at how great El Salvador is. NBC News wrote this thing where they attacked Elon, me, Ian Miles Chong, Matt Walsh for accurately pointing out cannibal gangs in Haiti. And the funniest part was it said that we were pushing misinformation about cannibalism, and then in the 4th paragraph of the article, confirm the cannibalism. And they were like, but they're eating people on camera to scare people, not for food. And I was like, that's literally what I said. That I've been saying it the whole time.
It also doesn't matter the reason you're eating other human beings.
But they know that only people are just going to look at the headline.
Exactly. What they're going to do to try and defend their hoax is they'll put up headlines that say, you know, Elon Musk is a liar, and then they'll confirm what he said was true later in the story, but it doesn't matter because people will only read the first paragraph.
Right.
And so does this story say in the middle of it that it wasn't this because
Well, this
of
is
the
from
injuries?
February 21st.
Oh, it could,
But
But they never updated it.
They never updated it.
But as
It's
Hannah
still-
Claire pointed out, the first thing we knew is that it was unrelated to the fight in school.
We knew that on that day.
I mean, Nex did die after a fight in school, but I wouldn't say it was a school beating as far as anyone has really classified it. I find this to be really weird. The thing about Biden's statement, one of the first headlines I saw when I was researching it today was Biden condemns LGBTQ suicide, wave or whatever. And if you really care, first off, I don't know why we're lumping people who struggle with gender issues in with everybody else in the alphabet spectrum. That seems like they might have different challenges. But also, if you really cared, wouldn't you take the reality that some of the things that you are pushing as therapy are actually causing more harm? Like, if you really thought this was important, why would you use them as a political talking point? Why wouldn't you accept the fact that some of the things we've been saying and encouraging actually put people who are at risk in more harm?
Before we move on, I just want to give a shout out. We do have one super chat from MF Damien who says, no, it's accidental overdose when not intended. So I'm assuming that's what you're saying. That's what they'll list it as on the report instead of they won't put suicide. So suicide, I guess, is the intent to self-harm. Let's talk about where we're currently at in the political cycle. I don't like to start with these stories. I like to save these for later on in the show because they're not the heaviest of news. But I think we are seeing with this story from Not the Bee, we are seeing Gen Z. We are seeing victory. I see a pattern here with this story. It is about a young Gen Z woman complaining she can't pay the bills, and I believe she is lying, but I believe that shows Trump is going to win. And I'll tell you why. There's a video that was posted by Wall Street Silver. I made a segment about it earlier where I talked about the general concepts around what a young woman could do if she can't afford to pay the rent, how society used to be, the fact that women never used to be single up until the 20th century. Like women did not live alone until the 20th century.
Well,
So
there were spinsters and stuff. But
in the 20th century.
Yeah,
Before
exactly.
that,
They'd live with their
most
families.
people did not live alone. Even
Right.
men did not live alone. And so now we have these young people. So that was the general idea. Upon actually recording and talking about the economy's bad, food costs too much, she says she doesn't go on vacation. She doesn't have luxuries. She can't afford her rent. She's crying. And I'm like, here we go. Joe Biden's economy is killing these young people. And so then I looked up her profile, and what did I find? She likely lives in a 2-bedroom. She has like 8 cats, and she's married and recently went on vacation. Now that said something to me right away. Oh, grifter, right? A lot of people were like, so this young lady right here is grifting and just trying to get sympathy to get views so she can make money. And then I thought to myself, why would she think making a video saying it's so hard, prices are so high? Why would she think that's going to make money for her? And sure enough, it did. She's got millions of views on this post. I think it might be 4 million. Huh. I'll put it up in a second. It's either 1.5 or 4.3. I'll pull it up in a second. And then I realized something. Someone asked the other night, we were talking about Chris Cuomo and Patrick Bet-David. They hired him. And I said, look, when we start winning the culture war, the sycophants and sociopaths are going to start pretending they were always on our side. Mm-hmm. And they're going to try and make shows agreeing with us like Chris Cuomo is literally doing. He made a video where he's like, why did I sit down with Tucker? Because I believe in free speech. Oh, yeah. The guy who called for lockdowns, who lied about being in quarantine. No, what's going to happen is when they realize they're on the wrong side of history, they're going to run full speed and beg us to crawl into the doggy door. What we're seeing with this young woman, in my opinion, is a Gen Z person who's realized the popular narrative is Joe Biden has stabbed us all in the back. And if you want to get views, you better insult the economy and say everything's awful. She made another video where she's like, I'm undercover calling my apartment to figure out why prices are so high. And she says, how much does a 2-bedroom go for? And I'm like, wait.
Why do you want to know that one?
Why that one?
Right.
Yeah, right. So she's
You mean you
crying.
don't live in a studio apartment?
And then she has another video. She's like, here's all my cats. And she's filming like a bunch of cats. And I'm like, you're not broke. You're living in luxury. Someone else posted a screenshot of another segment, which I haven't confirmed. I haven't seen the segment, but she says, my husband and I are going on vacation. And I'm like, so she lied?
Yeah, it sounds
but
like
it
a lie.
worked.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned with people like Dylan Mulvaney, and no, we're not going to talk about that stupid music video. Dylan Mulvaney only does what Dylan does because the algorithm promotes it. So now, which is interesting, you have Gen Z people thinking, if I make a video complaining about the economy, I'm going to go viral and get a ton of followers. That says to me, the sociopaths are starting to move over, assuming that we are on the right side of history and the path of success lies in criticizing Joe Biden and supporting Donald Trump.
What do her other videos look like? Is it just random content? Does she get a lot of views on her other content as well? Or is she just like chasing views? Is she? Or does she
I think it would be
4.3. It's 4.3 million.
Whatever gets attention, I'm going to post it
she
out.
did really well with that one.
Yep.
But then that's why she made the second one about calling.
Take a look at this. If you look at all of her content, what do you see? 39,000, 36,000, 72,000.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What is this one? Can someone please tell me where these jobs are? See, she has been like, okay, here's one like, where are these jobs? I don't see them. And it got 72,000 up from, some of her other content. My BFF came over, 33. When you see this type of guy, 45. My husband wanted an air fryer, 36.9. So she's a dual income household with a bunch of cats. And then she made, I know I'm not the only one like this right now. How are we supposed to do this? I don't understand. 4.3 million views. Young people have realized there is money to be made in pretending like you have been screwed over. And so the sociopaths are going to do it. This shows us one thing and will cause another thing. The first thing it shows is, as I've already stated, that these people are starting to, I don't think she's political at all. I think she just realized, oh boy, I'm going to go viral if I do this.
Yeah, she saw a lot of people were talking about it.
There's tons of stories.
This is why Biden wants to ban TikTok.
Potentially, now that it's turned against him. Israel is the real reason, mind you. But sociopaths and grifters are now trying to make money by saying, "Oh no, I've been so wrong. Look at all the cats. How many cats are in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then
it's not less than 10,000 views.
7,000 views. She has 8 cats.
One room of her apartment is just all litter boxes.
Here's what this does, though.
The most I ever had was 3 cats, and it felt like 1,000.
This is a cascade effect. More people are going to see 4.3 million views, and they're going to go, this is how I get followers. This is how I go viral.
Yeah.
When Donald Trump was elected, I worked with this guy at Discovery.
Is that going to be people running to the right?
Yes.
Just for the short run? I mean, it's going to be whoever's in office, they'll make videos to cry about how bad things are. So it'll be against the incumbent. It can go both ways, right? But in the short run.
No, I don't think so. I don't think based on this we can predict how things will actually go in terms of will they turn on Trump, because it wasn't as political until Trump.
Right.
So maybe, who knows? I worked with the guy at Discovery, normal video producer. We produced some pretty big videos for Discovery. One of them was how powerful are nuclear weapons. It had over 1 million views in like a day. It was crazy. And one day he discovered that by replying to Donald Trump, he got followers. He destroyed his career and became a weirdo. He went from being a video producer at Discovery to this Trump reply guy who only ever said Trump sucks in the stupidest of ways. And he got 100,000 followers from it. He didn't care about Trump. He didn't know about Trump, but he was like, oh boy, I'm getting attention.
Is that like George Conway?
Perhaps.
It's like Dylan Mulvaney deciding to be trans. It's
Exactly.
really all about the attention.
Look at the original content that was produced by Mulvaney, and it's like Safari stuff. And then once Mulvaney realized, so, okay, let's talk about the music video. I don't want to say too much because I really think it's stupid. But
it's stupid.
The one thing I can say is Mulvaney put out a music video called Days of Girlhood. This is the point. Dylan Mulvaney has no personality, no character, no talent, nothing. The only thing Dylan Mulvaney has is, by being trans, the algorithm promotes you. So what does Dylan Mulvaney do? Let's just make more stuff being trans. That's all it is, because the algorithm promotes it. This is why I think TikTok is bad. However, I will say, Gen Z people trying to manipulate the system while living in the sheer utmost of luxury okay, unless her husband is like a stay-at-home husband who's not working.
Well, somebody's got to take care of those cats.
That's
man.
true.
That's a lot of cats.
Right. But anyway, long story short, that's my point. I think this shows not only is Gen Z starting to side with Trump, but a lot of Gen Z thinks it's cool and it's going to get you followers to side with Trump. So they're going to chase that narrative whether they actually care or not.
Well, because that has become the counterculture. It's sort of interesting that a former president's political aspirations have become countercultural. Like, president is the epitome of mainstream political.
But he's maintained being an outsider. Like, it's the
Right.
most Trump thing of all time.
He maintained being an outsider while literally living in the White House and being in charge of the entire military.
For that, we have to thank the Democrats, I guess.
Take a look at this. Not the B highlights some responses. RFK Jr. says, "This is why I'm running for president. This experience is increasingly common and the strongest driving force behind voters' desperation for change. I will work tirelessly to earn your vote between now and November." I love it. Here you go, Dinesh D'Souza. "This is Joe Biden's America. If you don't want to live like this, vote accordingly in November. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves. And the reality? She lives in likely a 2-bedroom with 8 cats and a husband and is complaining about a rent increase. I can still respect being upset about a rent increase of $500.
Sure, that's a lot.
But you have a dual income 2-bedroom with 8 cats. You are not by any means broke."
And now, if my wife is watching this, her reply is going to be, "Corey, we need 7 more cats."
Just 7?
She's like, look,
Well,
it's in our budget.
Look, I can see it. They fit here and here and here. We don't have enough.
Yep.
No, it's wild. I mean, I think it is worth noting the fact that, like,
well, that's
a way
a wrong one.
a way to
No,
get
I
famous
made the same mistake.
Oh,
I said,
presumably though.
when I saw the video, I said one thing she can do is find a good man. And if she doesn't want to work or she's stressed out by it, find an older guy who can easily pay the bills. Maybe this guy who's 40, who's making 6 figures, maybe 180K a year. He'll be like, "I'll take care of all the bills." Then it turns out she actually is married. So a lot of people then said she's grifting to pay her rent. It's like, there you go. Crocodile tears, pretending to be upset. Oh, woe is me. Why is everything so bad? But it's like, all that matters is this, the simple math. It is now a fact. If you make a video where you say, "I am screwed over by this economy," you go viral.
Right, because it's a unifying issue for all these young people on the platform, right? A lot of them feel economic pressure. I mean, maybe she doesn't feel it as much as she's claiming to, but it's a regular conversation that I think a lot of people have. Rent's really expensive. I don't know how I'm going to buy a house, I'll do whatever, like all of these things. And whether or not she actually is living in that desperate of a situation or not, she is aware that it will pull from every angle of life. She's not just talking to women, she's also talking to men. She's also talking to older generations who are concerned about what their kids are going to do. Like, this is a topic that really drives everyone
everybody's
to
worried
channel.
about it.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what her preferred solution is. It might be universal basic income. It might be
She's not
it might
really
be
offering a
socialism,
solution, right?
But it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't
Right.
matter, right? Because people know Biden is in charge of the country right now. Things aren't going well. And so the responses are going to look like what we're seeing here.
Right, but
Yeah,
she's not
her
even
jo-
offering a solution.
her
She
job
just
is
gets to be
yeah.
like, this is bad. And that's the most non-political stance. Like,
Yep.
yes, it is bad.
Her job isn't to offer solutions. Her job is to cry on TikTok.
That's right.
And Trump will benefit from
That's
that either
literally
way.
her
And
job.
this is
whether she agrees with him or not.
here's
Genius.
the final point I'll make on this.
Really
The most important point is, I don't expect her to actually vote for Trump. She doesn't actually care whether you or anyone else votes for Trump.
She might not even
But
be
she-
registered to vote.
She is fabricating a narrative, a viral narrative that will, 1, encourage people to vote for Trump, and 2, encourage others to make more grifty videos where they say this economy is bad, which will create a cascade effect of a narrative emerges that Biden has screwed us all over, the economy is miserable, and for that reason, Trump is the only one that makes sense. Could be why Gen Z is now, according to, I think it was a Harvard Caps poll, Newsweek report on this, we covered it last week, Gen Z has the highest level of support for Trump out of any age group, which is odd considering many of these people were children when he was president.
Right? That is interesting.
But their parents were less stressed about the economy.
Yep.
And then they began
That's
on the
It's the
True.
mugshot.
then
It's
they
the
were on the
mugshot.
brink of
The
yeah,
mugshot
that's
was
true.
kind of cool.
And that he put out merch with his own mugshot like right away. I'm sorry, that's amazing.
Trump
They had it
is,
all planned.
He is an old man, but he is funny.
Yep.
He is
Could you
funny.
imagine having a grandpa that was like Trump? It'd be the best. You'd love Christmas. You'd be like, I can't wait to go to Thanksgiving because my grandpa always calls my liberal aunt like a dumb hooker or something. You know?
Oh,
He's
I
just a
love that. I want
foul-mouthed.
to go to that Thanksgiving. That one sounds fun.
Yeah,
And
you gotta-
he's entertaining too, being in office. I mean, it's fun watching Biden call the Egyptian president the president of Mexico, but it's not nearly as fun as watching the media freak out every time that Trump would tweet anything.
Look, it's Thanksgiving, and you have 2 grandfathers. One grandfather is a foul-mouthed old coot who says shockingly offensive things with quick wit and pisses off many members of your family, but you laugh when he does it. Your other grandpa, he's senile. And when he makes these mistakes, it's sad, and we're
he
worried about
mumbles.
grandpa,
Yeah,
and he
he
mumbles a lot. And he's always touching the
moving
kids. We
too
don't like
good.
that.
Sniffing them.
Yeah, sniffing the kids. Grandpa, you got to. That's the kid. So, kid comes to Thanksgiving and he sees two grandpas, and Grandpa Trump is sitting there, and the cringy liberal aunt says something, and then he insults her. Everyone laughs, and the kid laughs, and the parent goes, "Don't you listen? That's a bad influence." And then creepy Grandpa Joe comes over to the kid. And the guy's like, no, you stay away from creepy.
Well, creepy Grandpa Joe's always saying the future's over and bad things happened way back, and you know what I mean? Whereas Grandpa Trump is like having fun, hanging out. There's that video of Laura Trump posted a video of Trump going to Grandparents' Day with her daughter.
I was gonna say I love the grandpa videos
she looks so happy to see him. She's like
they're
showing him her
thrilled.
desk. She's adorable anyways, and he's like very much engaged with her. Like it's cool to see.
They clearly hang out.
Yes, they do.
I was honored to go to the White House for the social media summit. And I thought it was going to be a serious sit down to address the problems of big tech manipulation and all that stuff. And Trump just did stand up for like an hour or whatever. And the whole crowd's just laughing. And I was like, this is wild. He's literally just doing stand up comedy. Mm-hmm. He's very self-aware. He was making tons of jokes and he had bits.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was just, I'm like,
he is
wow.
having fun. And I think we all would like that in a president.
Right.
I'm not going to lie.
You go to his rallies too. I think anybody who's been to a Trump rally knows that he's doing a kind of stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he's having a great time and they love him.
Yeah. It's funny.
This video is another reason why we might not want to ban TikTok. And besides, how are we going to expose the rot that's happening in the government schools if they don't tell them
I
themselves?
thought we were bringing back Vine.
All right,
that's a good idea.
Well, I tweeted at Elon the other day. I said, bring back, hey, Elon Musk, bring back Vine. He said, in what form? And I said, as it was. Like, you'll have to obviously update it because it's been gone for a decade, but you resurrect it as it was, and then you start adding those features. But Vine was TikTok.
Yeah, I don't really understand the difference between the two. I've never been on TikTok.
7-second videos.
They're 7-second, but
Yeah.
wasn't TikTok shorter initially too?
All the Vine people went to TikTok.
Right, because
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
platform.
Snapchat, then TikTok.
Yeah.
And so,
I forgot about Snapchat.
Snapchat kind of fizzled
That's
out.
just for
Yeah.
teenagers to message each other and make it disappear, as well as predators.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no shade to Snapchat, which I'm sure is a lovely
one of the
business.
stupidest things they could have done, they didn't know how to monetize Vine. It was very expensive, so just get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's crazy. They bought it and then destroyed it.
But it was sort
Was
of
it Facebook
before.
that bought Vine?
Twitter.
Twitter bought
That's
Vine.
why I said, Elon, bring it back. Because Twitter owns it. They bought it.
It
They
was
just
So it's
phased
part of
it
his
out.
IP.
It was sort of before influencer marketing became a thing, right? Because that's what I think about with TikTok, the fact that there were so many people like.
No. It certainly
Makes me
existed.
that
The Paul brothers got big on Vine.
I know they got big, but then I thought they sort of
it all
monetized off
existed.
YouTube. I don't really know.
I think the challenge is with a 7-second video, how do you do marketing other than you're eating a bag of Doritos as you do your bit or something?
Right.
But a ton of these guys who got big on Vine, people, remain big and transferred over to YouTube. Vine, 7-second videos, it was easy, but all they had to do was just update Vine to be slightly longer, and it's literally TikTok.
Wow.
Yep. Let's jump to this story, though. Ladies and gentlemen, it may be that Donald Trump is right this time. He said in 2016, I'm going to win New York. And then he didn't. He said in 2020, I'm going to win New York. And then he didn't. And now he's saying once again, he will win New York. Maybe this time. This is a wild video. Take a look at this. This is not the video of the shooting. This is just a video of people in a subway train ducking in panic because there were reports that, at the scene, not in this video, I want to stress that, someone apparently got shot in the head on the New York subways. Now, if you came to me any other day and said, did you hear a guy got shot in the New York subway? I'd be like, wow, really? That's it. But if you come to me and say, hey, did you hear some guy got shot in the New York subway? I'd be like, with the National Guard deployed?
With the National Guard deployed.
Wow.
But this is in Brooklyn, and they abandoned the outer boroughs as soon as they
Really?
start losing money, as soon as they start, as soon as the
It's
city
quite
starts
Skirmerhorn.
declining,
They're like, you're a Long Island.
you're on your
now.
own. And that was I say this all the time, but that was the great thing about Bloomberg. He pumped all this cash into Manhattan. It spilled over into the outer boroughs. The outer boroughs became nice. That's
Well,
it.
and in 2022, Zeldin,
my whole rant.
the Republican only lost by 5 or 6 points.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe it's in striking distance now
Maybe.
that Biden's approval.
What's the
ratings are even
latest on
lower.
the CA Senate race?
Oh yeah, they
Which
can't
one?
count, right?
With Schiff?
They can't count.
I mean, Argentina counted all their ballots in 6 hours with the millions of people. California is still not.
Did he win already? Is that what happened? No, they advanced. Where's the date on this? Like, what's the update on this? Like, do we know?
You mean the Feinstein seat?
No. Yeah.
Yeah,
Schiff
it
and
was Schiff and Garvey, but
and
they
Schiff
go to a
won?
runoff.
Right. When is the runoff? Do we know?
It's probably like June or something like that. Or is it November?
I don't know, but here, check this out. So we're talking about New York. Maybe Trump wins California. Take a look at this. I suppose because Katie Porter is there. Is that what's happening? She split the vote.
Wow. Oh yeah, because there was two other Democrats on the ballot. Yeah.
Yeah, with
Add
Barbara
up all
Lee and
those,
Katie
it's
Porter.
a 70-30 race.
Oh, so if this goes to a runoff, Adam Schiff wins.
Yeah, he'll get all those votes.
Wow. And what do you need? You need to cross 50% or something?
I don't know.
Yeah, 50%. Texas
know
has the same
California
rule where
rules.
if your top two go to runoffs, ours are May 28th. So maybe
Yeah,
it's
so
around
Trump's
then.
not going to be winning California. But with stories like this, I bet there's a lot of people in New York who are probably going to vote for Trump, not say anything. I don't know if New York City ever turns red. These people, I think, are unwell, as it were.
I would be surprised if New York City completely turned red, but I wonder if there will be different districts that tip the scales this time, because I think that there are people who are really frustrated, and New York lost such a huge portion of its population, especially its wealthy population, during COVID, and largely a lot of those moves actually happened under Biden during 2021. I know when I was at the New York Young Republicans Gala and Trump was speaking there, it was a really high energy event. I mean, we've already been saying Trump's a great speaker, but it is interesting that the oldest young Republican club in the country is actually in New York. It's not in Texas. It's not in Montana. It's in New York. It's not even in DC, right? Like, there was a time when Republicans, even though maybe the city leaned blue, still occupied the city. And we know that upstate definitely leans red too. So I can't say what's going to happen. You're a New Yorker. What do you think?
I think that Republicans should get in there and actually provide some decent candidates. We don't see a lot of good leadership for Republicans in the city. We don't see a lot of good leadership from Republicans in the state. I think Zeldin was great, but you did not have people didn't get behind him. Like the national Republicans did not get behind him. They didn't fight for it. And if the Republicans aren't going to fight for those places, then they're never going to win them. And the city is declining. The residents of New York City, what they really care about when times are good, sure, they care about abortion and solar panels and whatever else. But when times are tough in New York, New Yorkers care about just a couple of things: quality of life, safety, trash pickup, accessibility of public transit. That's what they care about.
And it can't get much worse.
And
I
rent,
just looked up really quickly. The Republicans controlled the Senate in New York from 1939 until 2009. So it's not impossible, and things are getting bad with crime. Democrats have been opposing charter schools in New York City for a long time, whereas a lot of Democrat families are on wait lists to get in those, banging down the doors, and you have a cap on the charter schools in New York City.
It's hard to get into schools in New York City. I mean, I had trouble with that with my son before we left, and it was like we were on wait lists for a half dozen schools, to Christian schools, Catholic schools, to try and get into them.
I think Republicans should approach this like the election like a Chinese finger trap problem. They're trying so hard to pull their fingers out, it's only getting tighter, and the answer is actually simple. Republicans should all issue a statement right now, every single one unanimously signed, saying, we changed our mind. We are in favor of abortion. And then they'll have a press conference with like Donald Trump, or I think Trump would be the perfect guy for this. He'd be like, we talked about it and we like it when liberals kill the kids. No more of them. Basically putting out a statement where they're like, upon further realization, we realized that liberals were the ones getting abortions. So we're totally in favor of it now. But not because they literally want to support abortion. Think about the narrative reaction to Republicans saying, actually, we're completely on board because we realized ideologically conservatives and Christians don't get them. So the only people killing their kids will be liberals. And we decided we're okay with that.
It won't be enough.
How would Democrats respond to that?
I don't know how they tried to flip the script, but if it did become bipartisan and that was the shakeup where maybe it changed the political calculus and the number of people voting at the Republican versus Democrat side. But the Democrats control the schools, and they can brainwash enough voters to vote socialist in the future that way. We have 50 million kids going through the government school system every year to like big government policy. So I think we got to start there.
50 million. That's such a crazy number.
Government indoctrination centers.
Yeah, they really are
factors.
that. And
but-
they're
but-
moving into the community schools as well, so that there's
that's
going to
even
be
worse.
more people from the community in the schools. You're going to have health care available for kids. And then you also have all these states where children are allowed to make their own medical decisions without their parents.
But I'm genuinely curious what you guys think Democrats would do if Republicans said, we now support abortion and we actually encourage Democrats to have them.
I think they would get pissed, and then the lie of their whole pro-abortion thing would really have to get reversed. But I think they would scream and rant about it. I think they would.
So I had a tweet where I said,
I don't know if they would
You
run
should-
further to the left and say, "Oh, we've got to be able to kill the babies out after they're born as well." Try
already
to
did.
one up us. Yeah, well,
they're
yeah,
into that
Northam
already.
said that already. So that was
So
that was
they're
actually-
already gotten
It's actually a
there.
few
Yeah.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But
behind on the times. I didn't know they were that crazy.
yeah. So I'm genuinely curious how they could respond to something like that. So
Well,
I tweeted.
Can you envision it? Can you envision Joy Reid coming out and saying they want you to kill your children, and that's why they're saying that they're pro-abortion?
Yep.
And
And they'll say, no, she's right. Joy,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yes.
But it's your choice. Mm-hmm. We
now
like
they're
it
saying
if you
it's
did.
your choice if you should kill your child, if you should
I think they
have
would-
an abortion or not.
That's a
Yes.
huge victory for
That would be
Republicans
pretty
to
amazing.
make them say you're killing your children.
It would be pretty amazing.
I tweeted, you should have to prove
I
you're a
think we should do it
Democrat
just for
in
Joy
order to
Reid.
get an abortion. And the point of the tweet was, Democrats like to say that Republicans get abortions too. They say, oh, these Republicans say they're pro-life, but they secretly get abortions. I'm like, that's the point. Don't let them. If a Republican comes out and says no abortions and then secretly has a mistress go get an abortion, then you say no. You don't allow it, right? There you go. And then for the conservatives, it's like only Democrats get abortions. I just think the whole issue is absolutely fascinating. That is quite literally Democrats begging to excise themselves from the gene pool and Republicans being like, stop, please don't. And I'm like, there's absolute compassion there from the conservatives who are desperately trying to save these kids. But
Well, and
man, Democrats are really trying.
I wonder if the left would take the sort of the approach they take with immigration, which is like if you're an illegal immigrant, they're like, don't give any documentation. You don't want them to know. So they're like, well, Republicans are going to track who gets abortions and they're going to terrorize you some other way. They're going to be like, it's a prelude to the Handmaid's Tale kind of thing. Like you'll get some sort of data collection, pro-privacy movement coming from the left because they're scared of some sort of weird tactic involving
They'll
abortion.
attack motives and they'll just say, oh, they're just doing it for political purposes.
No, but that's the point. Then you'll get like a debate on MSNBC where the Democrat says, you're just doing this for political points. And they'll be like, yeah, what do you mean? Don't you guys want us to support your right to abortion? And we realize that if you keep doing this in 20 years, we own the electorate. So we're just kind of like, yeah, I guess. Why not?
if that's
Roll
what
with
you want to
it.
do, then
Yeah,
go
you
ahead
know?
and sterilize your children and kill your babies.
Yeah, we're done fighting it. Not that I'm saying to literally make that law happen or advocate for it. It's a thought experiment of how could the Democrats possibly respond to someone saying, have you considered getting an abortion to them? Like, I feel like that's the best insult ever for a woman, like a liberal woman or a man, just to be like, have you considered aborting your children?
That's awful.
Yeah, I was
But
going to
they-
say,
but
it's
they-
so
but
hard.
why?
You can't
It's like-
raise your kids.
It's like kind
Yeah,
of a good
exactly.
clapback, but it's also like, whoa, I don't like that.
Brutal.
Perhaps your kid requires some kind of sterilization procedure.
Perhaps your kid is
Let's,
actually not
Have you
really
met
Here,
yours.
let's
our
jump-
Lord and Savior Margaret Sanger? She loves sterilization.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. From Rolling Stone, Olivia Rodrigo St. Louis concert hands out morning after pills. It's brutal out there in Missouri, but we are here for abortion access and hand out Plan B, Missouri Abortion Fund says. Okay, so legit question. Are people really mad about Plan B? Is that a thing? Like, serious? I'm asking seriously.
Some people are because, and I am not a Catholic. I have to preface this and say, I know Catholics. I love Catholics. I talk to Catholics a lot, but I might not be the answer. But some people believe that because Plan B prevents conception, that because it's a form of birth control in that sense, it's bad. That's my understanding of it. I think people feel differently about it. But I think also people get upset when the 21-year-old pop singer whose teeny bopper fan base is being given Plan B as
and
if like,
encouraging them to go
take
have
a risk and
unsafe
see,
sex.
it's fine. You have this
Yeah.
pill now for free.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was like they were sugar pills? And
Right.
so they're trying
Oh,
to trick
no.
all
Well,
these...
and it's like off-brand Plan B. It's like one of
Tricking
the like
teenagers
other
into having
ones.
Is
babies.
it off-brand Plan B?
I mean, it's like some other. There's someone
were they
tweeted.
sponsoring
Yeah,
the concert too?
So she has this thing called the Fund for You, and it's all to promote abortion access and birth control and things like that. And so, as far as I know,
Fund for You or the Fun for You?
Fund for You, because she has a song called Good for You.
Yeah.
And a portion of at least the North American leg of her tour will go towards the National Network for Abortion. I can't remember what it's called. And which is like a network of abortion centers that are across the country. And as far as I know, every concert in the U.S. has a table where you can go. I don't know if you can get Plan B at all of them, but I know they have like a pro-abortion table at all of the concerts.
Concerts actually have Narcan tables.
Oh,
You
wow.
guys know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm not going to name any of the concerts, but I've been to them and they have Narcan tables because if someone ODs on heroin, you're supposed to run to the table and get Narcan
Look,
from them.
that seems like reasonable to me, right? Like, I think you should, if we have a way to prevent opioid deaths, like good times. But this one, because again, her fan base is really young, it is kind of interesting that it's like, hey guys, like, you know, condoms, I get it. Plan B's been passing out condoms for a long time, but it seems like another step up to be like this thing that in some states you have to go to a pharmacist to get a hold of. I mean, I know that's not true everywhere, but like you can just have it for free for fun. Like that seems like not the moral I want to present.
The first problem is obviously it's encouraging teenagers to go have sex.
Yep.
And the other problem is that I suppose for people who view it, Plan B is
Contraception.
well, it's the same thing as an abortion. My view is that it is not.
It's the next day, isn't it? Like
No, there are people who have commented
disrupts
saying
contraception.
it is the same thing.
I
Like
thought it
there are some
prevented
people who feel that way,
fertilization.
but
right, that's what I'm saying. If you are of that worldview of that particular moral framework, then you are going to be upset by this. But
what if people are substituting instead of saying, "Well, I would have used a condom, or I wouldn't have had sex, and then now I'm going to use this instead"?
Well,
because I
that's
can
Look,
and like you can have it like an STI. Like there are other risks
Yes.
in addition
Yep.
to pregnancy to being like teenagers.
I'm just saying.
Fun.
Imagine if you carried around some Plan B with you, and then you met someone you really didn't like. The ultimate insult ever. Like, let's say you're arguing, and you are like, "You are a dumb. You voted for Biden, didn't you? You know what? Here's some Plan B." Like, this is the craziest thing about the whole abortion argument is that they're begging for something that would be the most insulting thing to offer them. Giving your enemies Plan B is like you're like
saying you
please.
shouldn't reproduce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want any more of you. One is bad enough. Here, take some free Plan B. It's crazy because think about the next 10, 20 years. How, like, we talk about how millennials and Gen Z are stunted and they're getting jobs later in life. They're having kids later in life. And this is why. They're going to, it used to be that, like, I think the average age of, what was it, like 20? Women were having kids at 20 or something like that?
Kids had, and you'd get married.
You get married
set
at
up your
18.
life. You'd
And then you
become
go
a grown up.
Yep.
You would be like, oh, I'm an adult. I have
No,
responsibilities.
I need to go into debt to go to adult daycare, aka
yeah.
college, and
Yep.
hang out for a little bit and decide what I want to do.
And then get upset when you can't get a job and can't pay the bills from it.
It's weird.
Again, also, it is very strange that we live in a time where people are actually tweeting at me because I said, like, never in history have single women just lived alone in these apartments like this. And it's mostly true for men, but there are a lot of guys that were like rogues. So, you know, a guy would live in the woods or form like a gang or something. So it's not the same as women. Women were pretty much like living with their families or married into another family or something. It's only in the 20th century that we got the rise of the single woman who would be living alone. But it's a historical abnormality. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm just saying it's fascinating that here we are. You've got these women posting these videos being like, why can't I live by myself? And it's like, humans typically never did live by themselves. Anybody, they lived in big families. And then when the son married,
Why do you think that trend has ticked up? Do you think it's like feminist culture and?
Oh,
Yeah, definitely.
There, it's
I don't need no man. Everybody should live by themselves.
Well, that's certainly a lot of the PR, but I also feel like there is a public sentiment that women have to have jobs.
Yeah.
Where it used to be they could have jobs, now they must have jobs. So now you're getting all these videos of women being like, I'm miserable and I hate doing this. And you don't see as many guys who say that stuff. I think guys
view work differently.
Yeah.
We'd be less likely to get donations in our DMs than
True,
women,
too.
probably.
Yeah, I think it was Andrew Tate who responded to that woman from earlier where she was like, I can't afford my rent. He's like, if any man made this video, he would be mocked mercilessly by the media and by all women and be called a loser who doesn't deserve to mate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not wrong. You know?
Yeah. You have that study that women who make more money than their partners have a harder time. I think it was either staying married or finding a partner. Like,
It's both of those things.
It's
like
unusual.
It's sort of divisive,
Right.
for the woman to be the
higher
earner. Yeah, I can
Men
see
don't
that
like
being.
it.
I could see that being a problem. I mean, as a woman, I wouldn't like that either.
Men don't like it. This is a fact. I see these stories all the time where like men don't like it when their significant other makes more money than them, and it is typically true. And feminists say this as if men are, babies or whatever, and it's like this is what men do. Men don't have babies, so like what are they bringing to the table? They feel like they're providing, and it gives them a sense of purpose to support, provide, and if they don't have that, then they feel insecure. They don't feel valued, and they also feel at risk of the relationship breaking.
But women don't like it either. Like
when they make more than men.
women don't like making more than men either.
Oh yeah, how many
Women want,
TikToks?
and like all of these women who make a lot of money, they have trouble finding a man because they want a man who makes more money than they do, and they're out there making like 6 figures or whatever, and like the fella that they meet is like not doing that, and so they can't make it work because of that. Women want to feel, I don't care,
Taken care of.
Women want to
Protected.
feel protected.
Yeah.
They want to feel safe. They want to feel loved and taken care of. They want to feel like if something happens to them, then their husband is going to look out for them and
Right.
make sure nothing bad happens. They want to know that like if they have babies and get pregnant, that man is going to take care of them, going to make sure that everything works out. Like the way that a woman can take care of her family is because she's being taken care of by a man. And then the woman can take care of all the things and be like the superhero and everything because the man is a bigger superhero because he's taking care of her so she can take care of everybody
I have a
else.
great announcement. I'm going to be a dad, or I'm
Oh, my
actually a
goodness.
dad already
Wait,
of an
that's so
unborn
exciting.
child, Angelina
Congratulations.
DeAngelis, coming in
Congratulations.
August. First child. So
That's
really
so
excited.
exciting.
Right on.
He's kept the
Oh,
secret
so
the
happy.
whole
I
time.
will-
I will need to take care of and provide.
Yes.
So that reminded me.
But that like feels good for you, right?
Yeah,
like that's an
absolutely.
exciting time. I think that's one of the worst things that we do in culture right now, which is to make parenthood and taking on responsibility and things like that seem like it's going to take away from your life when it's not. Like people have been having children for centuries. They continue to travel. They continue to have interests and hobbies. And yeah, maybe you have to spend a little bit differently, but like it is a good thing to build a family and to build a community around you. I don't think that we should treat it as if it's like the end of time, It's just it's not the apocalypse. Have a baby.
Have a baby. We also have gotten to this point, and this goes to what you were saying about, what would the left say if we told them go ahead and kill your babies? We've gotten to a point where life is so devalued that we sacrifice our children, our actual unborn children, on the altar of our own desire. It's a very weird thing that we do, that we say like, oh, my life is so great right now and so amazing, and I'm sleeping around so much.
That's why I need to live alone.
And I'm
say the
going to
women.
these concerts all the time with Olivia Rodrigo.
They have
It's
Plan B
amazing.
pills.
That's why I don't want to have a child. And we've forgotten too that like perpetrating the species, that is part of our human responsibility. Like, don't we care about having responsibilities? It's like as a species, we are not even an adult at this point anymore. We're like a child species.
I think social media is melting the brains of the average person. Just no more.
I
Just
think so.
All of
Just
it's
turn
gone.
it
Go
off.
away.
I think so
Yeah.
too, because when you talk,
CNN only.
the TikTok ban might apply to X and Facebook. Fine.
when you talked about the
I run a
girl,
media company. I'm not okay with that.
yeah.
No, I'm down. I'll just go fishing.
when you talked about the girl who couldn't afford her rent, one of the things that I was thinking is when she was like, "I can't even make it. How are we doing this?" And then you immediately found out that she's like in a 2-bedroom apartment with doing vacations. It made me wonder if on TikTok she's looking at people who make more money than she is, who go on vacations more regularly,
FOMO.
or have a
Yep.
bigger apartment, and she's like, "I can't even make it in life right now. I don't have the things
These
that they
girls on
have."
my Insta stories are
Right.
doing so
You know,
much better
I-
than
what if
She's
me.
in the Maldives
I
every other week.
I can't even get. I can't even pre-order a Tesla Roadster.
Yeah, what the
Come
heck?
on, what kind
You know,
of lives
like,
are these?
can you believe
I only
this?
did one vacation this month.
The Tesla Roadster is a $50,000 down payment. I cannot make this work.
I need 16 cats.
I
Not
need,
eight.
I need you all to become
$50,000
members at
down
timcast.com. Otherwise, I can't make it.
Tim
very
is
far.
struggling. He cannot keep
struggling.
up.
How could I live without a new Roadster?
Or like all the girls who
space
are like,
car.
I'm shopping at
Real
Air
quick.
One or whatever.
Real quick.
car.
Yes, apparently they're
Are
saying.
you getting a space car?
No, the Tesla Roadster uses SpaceX technology, and it has the capability of going from 0 to 60 so fast you could die.
Oh, damn.
Tax
So-
it.
You mean like
Elon-
like that roller coaster, that suicide roller coaster?
Yeah. So apparently Elon said something like the new Roadster can go from like 0 to 60 in like 0.99 of a second or something like that. And then a bunch of people did the math and they were like, for your average sedentary American, it'll put 3.01 G forces on their organs, and it will actually cause loss of bodily control and function. And many people may crap themselves from the force. And some people who are like out of
wanna
shape could
detail that
actually
car.
die.
Do you have to pass a fitness test to get this car?
That'll be an ultimate recall.
You
Oh,
bring-
we didn't
recall.
think about this one yet.
you bring like a doctor's note being like, I am fit enough, my organs can handle it.
So the Model S Plaid, if you go too fast, it goes nuts. It goes like wah, 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 like you're speeding.
Think about your kidneys.
You got to turn on racetrack mode to be able to actually take that thing off the charts. But it can go 0 to 60 in like 1.9 seconds or something like that. That's a choice. They could make the car go faster, but I think the car would either flip over or crush your organs.
It would be bad to have a car that crushes your organs
Not a
Yeah, but
responsible purchase.
How am I supposed to live?
without that.
You
If
know?
someone has a 2.5 0 to 60, you got to get the 1.9.
It
That's
would
the cra-
suddenly
it's the
it would be
crazy
like
thing.
the TikTok challenge. Like, can you go
How
really
many G
fast?
forces?
Yeah.
Well, if you're fit and trained, I mean, there's a lot. There's a fighter pilots who experience way more G forces than that. I don't know enough
Yeah, it's the
about it.
Tide Pod challenge. If it goes viral enough, it was worth it.
But yeah, they said 3.01 G forces on your organs.
Only fighter pilots
Anybody
are
who's
allowed to
at-
buy this.
Anybody who's been in a Tesla knows that feeling when someone hits the gas, it slams you to the back like a gravitron, and you can feel it. It's fun. It actually is really practically useful because I can turn left, and I can make left turns extremely easily. So like, you're sitting at an intersection and the cars won't stop, and then like the left side is coming and you're like, okay, and the right side's clear, and you're like, the left won't stop coming. Then finally the left side's clear, the left side starts clearing up on the road, and you're like, okay, finally, and then the right side starts coming in again. You're like, oh, there's no. With the Tesla, you just
Just
and
floor
then
it.
within a split second, you are at the speed limit. So if the speed limit's like 45 and cars are coming, you just put your foot on the gas and then you're at right in front. It's amazing. I love those things. Yeah. Anyway, if I'm going to live, I'm watching these TikTok videos. These guys, Jay Leno, how am I supposed to live without
You must get the wildest stuff.
Jay Leno?
No, just like on your TikTok, people are like, "Here's
No.
this Tesla," and you're like, "Okay,
I don't have
here we go."
TikTok.
Oh, not TikTok, Instagram or whatever.
I'll tell you what's
Your
on my
social
Instagram
media
right now.
feeds. I'm fired.
All right, I'm gonna press my. Oh, whoa! It's Ricky Glaser doing a blunt slide to dark slide.
Okay, then.
That's cool. Here's what I got. I got a woman getting some kind of tattoo in her face.
Is this your Instagram?
Yeah, the next one says, what's an actual cause of death so extremely rare, it's hard to believe it's possible, from Ask Reddit. The next one is people racing on skis.
I have Tim doing skateboard tricks.
Oh, really? I got James McAvoy revealing he injured himself holding a woman upside down during an orgy.
Is this just your Instagram feed?
No, when you press discover.
Mine is actually it's literally just Mormons getting engaged and the Dunkin' Donuts menu for
I get a lot of this.
Mormons
Look at
getting
this.
engaged. Oh, I get a
yeah.
lot of that
I
too.
got
It's a guy making
me
beef.
waiting for apple cider vinegar to help me lose weight.
Is that what you get?
That's the first
So
one.
I have a ton of people making food because that's what I click on all the time. Like basically, this dude just cut a loaf of bread into a box and he's filling it with French fries. And
I watch
chicken
a lot
shawarma.
of I watch a lot of chef reactions to crap like that.
You know what I
That'd be
won't
fun.
watch though is
And
the
it's the guy being like, "Yeah, I'd eat it. Fine, I'd eat it." Yeah.
Oh, and that girl Pookie shows up on my Instagram Explore page all the time. Do you guys know about this? No. Okay, well,
Who's Pookie?
it's like she's like a girl who lives in Georgia, and she looks like she's fairly wealthy. And her husband, they'll like do outfit reviews, and her husband is always like, "Pookie's looking fire. I love Pookie in this hat." Like, I don't know. I'm just like a white girl on the internet, and they're like, "Here's your content." But it's very funny, and I have now heard a remix of one of their like conversations. Anyways,
I don't know who Pookie is.
well, I'll send you videos, and you're
I got something about that dog girl. Did you see
What?
the dog girl?
y'all's stuff is way less basic than mine.
Yes.
Basic white girl stuff.
I just get my DMs from my wife sending me cat videos. That's basically it.
So that's an honorable use of
And
the internet.
daddy daughter videos. This is how you need to be with our daughter, basically.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Did you guys
I
want
don't
to
use
find out the
Instagram
gender,
much.
or did you?
We found out. Yeah,
Okay.
we did like the early testing with the genetic stuff and had our ultrasound yesterday, which was great.
That's so
20
fun.
weeks. Yeah.
See, more people who are becoming parents on the show. I like when we have parents on.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah, I think it is good because I think that's one of the issues. I was listening to, do you know Hidden Brain, the NPR thing?
Yeah.
They talked about the rise of parenting books, like when they started getting published. And I always thought it was interesting because they pointed out it basically came around because we used to live much more communally and people used to see,
How do you do it?
you would have a lot more siblings and then also your siblings would then have children and there were children in your community. So you weren't like, there wasn't this gap of knowledge being like,
Bruh, there were wet nurses.
yeah.
Could you imagine, like, hey, my kid needs milk. Is there a woman with milk that can, like, sustain my child?
A wild
I've often
time.
thought about that because so when you have a child and you have milk and you have it for a while and then it goes away, right? And that's fine and you don't need it anymore. But a wet nurse, you would have to be continuously nursing just to keep your milk going. Like that would be so unpleasant.
Sounds terrible,
Just
but
nurse
But that
for,
was like-
years upon years.
but if that's your job, you
But
are
they
the
were like-
wet nurse.
they
your
were like-
job is to be the human cow.
But see, like in the modern day and age, like this was kind of crazy for me to learn, like what a wet nurse actually was. It's like, oh, it's another lady who has milk, so your baby can get milk when your wife or for you, the mother, can't produce. That's just kind of crazy to think about.
I have a hard enough time wrapping my head around the idea of a night nurse, which is someone you hire to get up with your baby in the middle of the night. And like I've had friends who do this because you need sleep and the baby gets up a lot, and if your husband is working, you know what I mean? Like
I really liked getting
it's a
up
service you
in the
pay
middle
for,
of the night
but to
with
pay
my
for a
son.
wet nurse is like
That's like
I cannot get it.
But now we're talking about British aristocracy. And like
We just
stuff
got-
As
like
we
that.
should be always.
You know
We
what I
just
mean?
got one of those new things that everybody was
Oh.
telling us to get where it moves the baby a little faster.
A robotic
If it's-
night
yeah,
nurse, if you will.
Yeah, it's
Oh, we have
connected
that
to
for
the
our
Wi-Fi
chickens.
and everything.
That's for the chicken.
You put the eggs in the thing, and then every few minutes the eggs all roll over.
Yeah, it's
There
the
you
same
go.
thing, except you
Otherwise
don't
they
let the
die.
baby roll. That's
I don't
a
know.
no.
I really liked getting up
Big
with
tech
my son
stealing
in the
our
night.
jobs.
I loved getting up with my son in the night.
Yeah, I mean,
Taking care
it
of
sounds
him and
tiring.
being like, oh look, you're cute still.
Yeah, and you get the
We're-
hormones and whatever.
You know, and we're still he's 14, so it's rough, but we're still pretty tight.
But but is the reason why this narrative of like, oh, it's so miserable, you need a night nurse because women have jobs?
That could be, yeah.
I've heard a mix of things. Like one of my friends is a stay-at-home mom, and her husband works, and her in-laws gifted her a night nurse for like 2 weeks. But it was because like shortly after, he was on home for like 2 weeks or whatever, and then he went back to traveling a lot, and so it was to give her support, so she could sleep and be with the baby. Because if you're doing it alone, I'm sure that is exhausting and tiring. If you need a night nurse, I have never had a child, and I have not, I have younger siblings, but I never was like up with them all the time in the middle of the night. So I'm not going to knock anyone for trying to get sleep and to take care of their baby. I think those are good things to do.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some news.
No, man.
We have this story from the Post Millennial. Trump says Facebook is a true enemy of the people over election interference, urges restrictions on political spending. Trump's not wrong. He said TikTok is less of a danger to the U.S. than Meta, which is a true enemy of the people. They spent $500 million against me and our great Republican Party, locked boxes and all, and should never have been allowed to do that. TikTok didn't. Like crooked Joe Biden, Facebook is a great threat to democracy and will only get bigger and stronger if TikTok is taken out. Do them both and restrict the money allowed to be spent on politics and lock boxes by Meta and Facebook. He's not wrong. I think the issue of banning TikTok is it's fine if it's isolated to just what TikTok is. I don't care for the argument that Facebook would get stronger. I mean, Facebook is a problem as it is, but it's a different problem. That being said, we absolutely should be restricting Facebook, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, and I don't know how they tax their revenues, or if it's financially detrimental to use their funding towards political spending. Like they certainly don't get a tax benefit for doing that. But hey, why not have competing platforms donate to other candidates towards Donald Trump? Maybe X and Elon Musk could support him in those ways.
They met, but they haven't had Elon Musk said that he had not made any political contributions.
Yeah, and even if we ban the political contributions, I mean, the algorithms are still going to support one candidate over the other, probably on.
I say we just ban all social media, just all of it. Get rid of it. Everyone's got to watch CNN from now on. We'll get Chris Cuomo back on the air, and that will just that'll solve everything. If everyone was just ignorant of the world,
I don't know. I
I
like exposing what's happening in the school system too much on social media.
That's your thing.
I mean,
You and Haya.
I mean,
knowledge makes people unhappy. We should keep them ignorant so they
right?
can remain
We're all
happy.
everything. Everything's
Right.
great.
Yeah.
I mean, we were even exposing school districts illegally influencing elections in Texas right before the primary.
Wow.
They were using their school district taxpayer resources to lobby for or against specific candidates, which you can't do. Attorney General Ken Paxton laid down the law on at least 7 districts.
Well, we talked to, on the Culture War podcast last week, a couple of former congressional staffers, and I didn't even realize how Congress worked. I had no idea, even to this point.
It doesn't.
I had no
What do
idea.
you mean?
When you get elected into Congress, you have to write a check for money to the Republican or Democratic Party in order to get assigned your position so you have political power. Quite literally, Matt Gaetz gets elected and said, I want these committees. And they said, well, maybe if you raise money for us, and you'll need to raise, each district has a bid, they call it, where depending on the wealth of the district, you are required to give a certain amount of money. So
that's messed
Matt
up.
Gaetz said, if I write a check for $500,000 right now, what committees do I get? They said, any committee you want. He says, done. And he wrote him a check for $500,000. That's Congress. I had no idea that's how it actually operated.
Pay to play. Is it like insurance too, though? Whereas if you're an incumbent, they'll defend you on election day. So like,
if you are not giving money to the party, they'll
defend
primary against you.
Yeah.
And they'll keep you out. And so naturally, they were very much opposed to Laura Loomer getting in. And I knew there was money in politics, but I didn't realize.
I didn't know that either, I got to say.
You got to pay money.
That is messed up.
At least in the Republican Party, Democrats probably do something similar.
Yeah, they probably do because Democrats are grifters as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it works like this in the Texas House as well. We had Dade Phelan forced into a runoff, our speaker, and he goes and pours a ton of his campaign war chest to defend a lot of the anti-school choice incumbents, and we took out a bunch of them on Super Tuesday. But they protect their own once they're in, and they just kind of listen to what the speaker says in a lot of the places.
And then the other crazy thing is that when you are in, like people talk about how it's easier for incumbents to win. You want to know
95% of the time they win.
Do you know why?
They have more money. They have name recognition.
Because the government gives them money they can use to campaign. So in Congress, they get a budget. They can spend whatever they want. And the rule is they can't say, vote for me and I will do this. They can say, I just did this thing. Here's me. I'm your congressman.
It's implied.
Exactly.
Vote for me. Yeah.
Yep.
That should not be. I didn't know that.
Yep.
They actually gave him money.
Yeah, they were telling us on Culture War the story of this guy who used like basically his entire campaign office budget on mailers, sending out saying like, here's what I've done, here's what I'm doing, here's who I am, thumbs up, and he had to fire all of his staff because he ran out of money.
Wow.
Yep, that's crazy. The whole thing, like
He was like, make sure you get those mailers out the door before you go. Pack up your desk and take it to
they
the
get
post
around a
office.
lot of these little law, like in Texas with the school district stuff. They get around the laws, like even if they're not saying vote for or against this particular measure or person, they'll say you're not going to get a raise next year, teachers. I know you're just trying to scrape by and make ends meet, but you know if we don't raise spending with $1 billion bond that the voters have to pass, well, you're not going to get your raise. So that's basically implied, like you better go, or we're going to have to cut some staff. You might lose your job if you don't go vote for this. So it's implied what they're doing.
Yep.
Even if not.
There's no Congress. I think that's the takeaway I got from these former staffers who are breaking down how it operates. I'm like, if you think there's a system where people get elected and then go to DC and then advocate for bill, this is not absolutely not true.
And that
the reality is it is a dirty game where people do favors and cut backroom deals. They need to raise $300,000 based on their district, so they go to lobbyists. And I think they were even saying too, where it's like, okay, you're from what district? Oh, here's a corporation that'll write the check for you, and then they're able to muster up funds that can deliver those funds to the NRCC or other NGOs that get that money in somehow.
and it makes it almost impossible to hold politicians accountable for infringing on our rights and doing things that they didn't promise on the campaign trail.
that's messed
because
up.
they win about 95% of the time. You're not going to get the churn you need to actually be able to hold them accountable at the ballot box, and it's rough. And maybe making things like using your Congress's funds illegal to campaign for yourself would be a step in the right direction.
It is illegal to campaign.
But if you do it in this, so clamping down on the definition of campaigning.
I mean, it's just tough. Like if something is happening, you want your constituents to know, well, that's fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there will be a vote coming up. Thank you. And that's the general idea, but it can be used. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
You know, we try to come up with all these ways to cut loopholes, but people will always figure out a way to get through them. I suppose we could just say, you know, when you see it, knock it off, right? We get what you're doing. But I think the reality is people think Congress is dysfunctional. I think I just learned last week there's not even a Congress. It's just fake.
That's really scary, in fact.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had to give money to the party. That's
Right.
like when board members on not-for-profits have to give money to the thing they're supporting. But
Mm-hmm.
like if you're on the board of the Met, it's because you want to give a bunch
Oh
of
man,
money
let
to
me
the Met.
let me tell you how nonprofits work.
Or you get on the board because you gave a bunch of money.
Right.
Here's
that's
what you
part
do.
of it too.
You want to run a nonprofit? Okay, the first thing you can't do is make a lot of money. If you make a lot of money, people are going to say, I don't need to give to you. You make a lot of money. But then the problem is what happens if you become successful? Oof, now you're in a conundrum.
Increase your expenses.
Well, no, it's easier than that. You create a 501c3 and a 501c4. We'll call one like the Truth in Media Foundation and then a Truth in Media Fund. And the fund will be a 501c4 and the foundation will be a 501c3. And then what you do is when you go around raising money, you say, we're with Truth in Media, excise the last word, show what Truth in Media Foundation does every day in fighting for truth and justice, and then ask them to make a donation to the fund. The fund never discloses how much money it makes. The fund pays you a salary of $1 million a year. The fund then donates $737,000 per year to the foundation. The foundation then publishes all of its earnings. This year we raised this much money. Our executive got paid $35,000. And you go, you see, I only got paid $35,000.
From the C3 arm.
From the C3 arm. And the 501c4 is not publicly disclosed and is allowed to lobby. So you use the 501c3 as your public-facing do-gooder arm. Then you use the 501c4 to actually take all the donations.
Right.
But there's a
lot of media
complication here.
companies work like
I'm on a
that.
C3 and a C4, and we have a PAC as well. But it's harder to raise money for political purposes than it is with C3 because the donors can write off their C3
That's right.
contributions. So it's actually in the best interest of the nonprofit to pay more out through the C3 than the C4.
Unless your revenue is getting too high and it's starting to compromise your ability to fundraise. So there's an upper limit. Certainly, a lot of nonprofits will say, just give it to the C3. Sometimes you'll catch this. If you ever have someone asking you for money for a cause and they're explaining a cause that is absolutely protected, like if someone says, we want to, provide sporting equipment to schools. Okay, that should be tax deductible, right? I donate to you and you're helping kids. That's tax deductible. And then they go, but because of the work we do, it's not tax deductible, but it's still important. That means they're redirecting your funds to a 501c4.
Yeah. Okay.
And something is up. But the general idea is if you can put as much funds as possible to the C4, you can pay your executives 6-figure, 7-figure salaries. And then when people come to, your meetings or whatever, and they're like, you are doing this, be like, I only get paid $50,000 a year. Why should I even bother? I'm sacrificing. And it's true. You're not lying.
I don't know, but
that's how they do
people
it.
can look up my salaries on the 990 forms, and we have C3, C4, and PAC.
Yeah. So if
I
you
guess
don't-
they'd have to look up both entities
And
then add them together. It's more difficult.
And typically, depending on how you obfuscate this,
right?
you can call one like the Political Acquisition and Research Foundation, and no one's ever heard of it. And that's the company that takes in all the donations without people realizing it. Certainly, anybody who's digging can find through 990s your salary, but then you can say, that's a totally different company. Right. As the executive of... So there have been some very large nonprofits, international NGOs. I recommend this. Anybody who's curious about the NGOs that are funding all this illegal immigration, go to... what's that website? Man, do you know which website that's got all the 990s on it?
AFCVF.com.
Is that-
And you can contribute to AFC Victory Fund.
No, this isn't about you right now.
So you want to look up the 990 tax form, and there's a website that has GuideStar. I think it's GuideStar.
GuideStar, that's the one.
Yeah, you'll find the 990
And
forms.
Nonprofit Explorer, right? Is that one? Or
I don't know.
ProPublica?
GuideStar's the one I think GuideStar's the one that I've always used. And you can look up the salaries of anyone. So find an NGO and you can see how much money they're making. You can see how much money they brought in, and you will probably be very surprised. But the thing is, nobody looks. So we know a lot of these NGOs, especially when it comes to illegal immigration, are getting fat paychecks.
Well, and some of them also distinctly hide their assets and where their money comes from, because you can also be a not-for-profit and have an umbrella organization over you, and then you never see any of that not-for-profit's work. You never see
Yeah.
their money. I was looking because I was discovering that when I was looking for the who funds the Students for Justice Palestine. And it was definitely very hard to get to the bottom of that.
Did you find any teachers unions?
I did not actually get to the bottom of it. Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's always hard when they just create them too, right? If they haven't been around for a couple of years, you're not going to see
right.
basically anything.
Because nonprofits don't have to file.
There's lags.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now I want you to spend the rest of every day finding this stuff. I'm so fascinated.
I always want to go digging around and finding this stuff, but I have this job and I have to like do my job and I can't just like go dig around.
You can't just take a sabbatical from editing and posting and running Post Millennial?
No, I can't for some reason.
I think this is crazy. Your rights are being trampled.
Right?
This is a hate crime.
This is a hate crime. No, but I love doing that kind of research.
We have a lot of union front groups and it does take a lot of researching in Texas. They set up a PAC called Defend Rural Texas, and it's actually headquartered in Austin, which is not a rural area, and it's funded by the union, and then they're funding Republicans that way instead of publicly endorsing them. They're privately funding them through a PAC. Yeah, it's crazy. And
the teachers unions are just full out for Biden.
99% of their contributions went to Democrats. So
Let's jump to the story from scnr.com. Rand Paul clashes with Fox News host over bill that could ban TikTok in the U.S. Quote, you cannot take people's property without due process. Well, okay. The bill, which the Senate is now considering, would require TikTok's China-based parent company, ByteDance, to divest itself from the platform or be removed from U.S.-based hosting and app stores. Appearing on Fox and Friends shortly after the House passed the bill, the Kentucky senator was asked by Kilmeade if countries like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran should be able to own influential social media platforms. Quote, the company's owned 60% by international investors, 20% by two Chinese software engineers who developed it, the entrepreneurs who began the business, and 20% by their employees, 7,000 of whom are American. It's a very diverse ownership. It's not owned by the Chinese government. In fact, on TikTok's board, there are no Chinese nationals that control that are associated with the government at all. They are CEOs from Singapore. So this is international corporation. And like every other international corporation, they deserve their day in court. You can't just take their property. Who owns that company? ByteDance. ByteDance is owned by China, Kilmeade said. No, it's not. See, that's a lie. Paul shot back. It's getting interesting. Rand Paul's wrong. ByteDance is a Chinese company based in Beijing, incorporated in the Cayman Islands, founded by Shang Yiming, Liang Rubo, and a team of others in 2012. Also, the Singaporean CEO has led investments into tons of Chinese companies. I don't understand what's happening. Someone needs to explain this to me, why it is that the anti-TikTok divestment bill people are pushing misinformation.
Well, do you think it has anything to do with Jeffrey Yass? I was just reading about him. He's a top political donor in the U.S. and he's a libertarian. He has like a 7% stake in TikTok, which I find interesting.
Yeah, but I don't think he's controlling all this.
No, I mean he has said
but
it's about
he's supporting Trump or something. Is that what's going on?
Trump. He's hosted like different Ride the News. If you're on Instagram, has a whole carousel up on this right now. It's interesting. He's talked to Trump about different things, and Yass has come out and said, similar to what all of the sort of libertarian leaning congressmen who are against this, which is like, we can't give more power to the president who can do these things. There's concern about privacy. What are we ceding? So it's following a libertarian standpoint. But.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually with Rand Paul, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Thomas Massey, and they're all against it. And then you got Joe Biden for it. I mean, if you're looking on whose side you want to be on, I think
I don't care about whose side I want to be on. I want to understand why Rand Paul, Thomas Massey have put out information that's wrong.
Do they not know, do you think? Or do you think they're intentionally misrepresenting the facts?
I have no idea. Thomas Massey posted snippets from the bill out of context that duped even me.
Huh.
And when he posted the snippet, I said this would ban Telegram and VPNs because the snippet would. But it's got a bunch of subparagraphs which restrict what the bill can actually do, to which the response from people who want this bill to be stopped say, but the government will abuse it. And I'm like, if your argument is the government will do whatever they want regardless of this bill doesn't matter.
Well, that's a good point, too.
If your argument is this bill is bad, explain to me why it's bad. But Rand Paul's outright wrong here. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. He's on Fox News saying ByteDance is not Chinese. I can't find
it is. Yeah,
I know. Sure. I can't find any source saying that's not. What's he talking about?
He went on Tucker Carlson too and basically said the same thing. And I liked his quote on Tucker Carlson. At least I haven't seen the Fox News snippet, but he said something along the lines of, we don't want to beat the Chinese Communist Party by emulating the Chinese Communist Party. And so I think his whole thing is just about free speech and letting people, if you want to get on and use this social media platform, then that should be your choice as opposed to
TikTok.
China will not allow us to operate companies in their country. I don't understand, simply from trade reciprocity, why we allow China to operate, to buy farmland, to buy land in general in this country.
Yeah, so why are all the people who would not block the purchasing of farmland in support of this bill to block TikTok?
It's weird.
No, I'm pretty sure.
They're not going to pass banning Chinese ownership of farmland in the U.S. Though that's not going to happen. I mean, unless there's movement of a lot of co-sponsors in Congress right now on that. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it yet. I mean, there are congressmen who do put out bills like that, and it happens on the federal and on the state level.
But this passed overwhelmingly. I mean, it was 150 to.
I'm pretty sure Democrats have also pushed the no more Chinese land ownership stuff too. Washington Post reported lawmakers in 33 states. Maybe they're mostly most Republican,
mostly red states.
Mostly red states
Don't
for
need
sure.
any Democrat votes.
Yeah, but I do think it's fair to say the only reason the TikTok bill has actually moved forward is because of Israel. That's patently obvious.
So you think that it's just because Biden is tired, the Democrats are tired of having the
Palestine stuff?
so much, pro
diversion?
Gaza, pro Palestinian stuff on TikTok, which is leading to more protests and.
It's a fact.
And that'll hurt him in the election.
Take a look at this data from Axios from October of 2023. October 16th to the 23rd, there were 123,000 posts with hashtag Stand With Palestine, only 11 million views. There were 8,000 posts Stand With Israel with 12 million views. In the next week, it jumped. With only 87,000 posts, Stand With Palestine now had 285 million views. And with 9,000 posts, Stand With Israel had 64 million. Two things. Either TikTok, and some analysts have argued that this is evidence that TikTok put their thumb on the scale, creating an algorithm that would then promote. The reason being, with 123,000 posts and only 11 million views, why the massive disproportionate jump in viewership? It would have to be that the TikTok algorithm was actually starting to suggest this content that was Stand With Palestine. The other issue may be that third-party governments began operations, or activists in those countries, to heavily influence Stand With Palestine, resulting in an inadvertent algorithmic push to support Palestine. Regardless of whether TikTok did it on purpose or not, it is a fact. TikTok overwhelmingly pushes more pro-Palestinian content, and the U.S. government can't control that, and it's generating youth sentiment in favor of Palestine and against Israel. That undermines U.S. foreign policy, U.S. support of Israel, and they love Israel. So immediately you found your bipartisan support for banning or controlling TikTok. That's where we're at.
I mean, it could also be because Biden wants the power to be able to shut down social media he doesn't like.
But he can't. The bill doesn't do that. Thomas Massie and Rand Paul are putting out fake news. I can't tell you why. They're wrong. And I get these messages where they're like, yeah, like I'm going to believe you over Thomas Massie. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm going to tell you, we read the bill. We showed the bill on the show. The bill is extremely narrow and
it's short.
It's like 1 page.
Yeah, it's like.
So it doesn't expand presidential powers to
like
determine what's
13
permissible.
Pages.
So in order for a president,
what are they talking about then?
In order for
I'm not deep in it either.
So the bill only has the ability to restrict a website, desktop app, phone app, or augmented reality immersive software that is controlled by the governments of, in some way, Russia, Iran, North Korea, or China. If there's an individual working for them, that qualifies. If the president wants to ban anything other than TikTok, it has to be of the technologies I listed, website, app, etc., that allows users to create profiles, post content, and to create a profile to view content, do both.
If Vine makes a comeback.
If it was made by an Iranian, it has to also present a clear national security threat that has to be articulated by the president to Congress 30 days before any action can be taken, which then it defaults to the judicial review section, which allows anyone who's accused judicial review in the jurisdiction of DC to challenge this. And then they have the opportunity to divest from whatever the source claim is. Would not ban it. The president under this bill look, I'll put it this way. If Biden wants to ban X, he can do it right now. How does he do it? He goes to the CIA and says, draft me a national security letter. They meet privately with Elon Musk and they slide the national security letter over to him and they say, we own your
So he
platform.
already has this power, basically.
They've done it before. They do it today. They do it all the time. This bill is specifically publicly facing announcement as to why look, they could shut TikTok down if they wanted to. But people are going to then say, whoa, what's happening? Why is this going on? And considering TikTok is foreign owned, China will screech to the high heavens, blast out notifications. So in order to make this change, you have to do it slowly. In order to get TikTok under the control of US government so that the algorithms don't undermine its foreign policy, namely Israel, they're passing this bill. They will not be able to ban X or Rumble with this. The best argument you could make for Biden being able to do it is to claim Donald Trump is secretly working for Russia. The only problem with that is after 4 years and a $35 million investigation, the determination was that Trump never actually worked for Russia and they accomplished nothing by doing it. I don't think Biden would ever actually be able to pull anything like that off. It seems insane.
So the Senate's going to pass it. Biden's going to sign it. It's going to go to SCOTUS. What do you think happens there? Because Rand Paul on his Tucker interview was like, well, is this going to pass and it's going to go to the Supreme Court and we won. This kind of thing was shut down before. We have precedent for this. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the previous case was about, but
I honestly don't know. I think there's a strong possibility SCOTUS strikes it down and says,
free speech kind of thing.
It's not a free speech issue because
I don't know what else they would...
it's divestment. It's not a ban. And I suppose the argument is, I see a path towards SCOTUS actually saying the bill's fine because it's not an American company. They could say quite plainly, a company that operates outside of the United States with interest in the United States is subject to the jurisdiction therein. And if the United States wants to have access to this information and it's being denied, they absolutely can engage in enforcement action against this to stop. More importantly, it's also entirely possible SCOTUS just plainly says the United States has enemies. Those enemies seek to undermine and destroy these United States, and it is within the rights of Congress to pass legislation that is then approved by the president to seek remedy in the event our country is being undermined by a foreign adversary. In the event that a country created a weapon that was damaging to this country, but sold it to the American people, it would not change the fact they're still an enemy selling a product. When imagine if China started selling designer drugs, and they've done this actually, and Congress passed a bill saying you can no longer sell Waba Baba in the streets because it's causing harm. And then the Chinese company that owned it said, you can't ban my product. Our product is safe and good. And they'll say, we've determined your product is harmful. And it's a drug now under the Controlled Substances Act and it's Schedule 1. And then they go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court says, well, you can't take someone's property from them. That makes no sense. If this is regulated as if it were a drug, I see no reason why Supreme Court would say they can't do this. So the most important thing is, I cannot understand.
I wonder if even if Biden can do this already today, if this gives him political cover for doing something like this in the future.
Only for TikTok. Under what pretext would Joe Biden be able to say that Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble works for Russia or Iran, China, or North Korea?
Right. If there's some other platform that comes up, and
you can say Canada.
Maybe it's a more conservative platform.
According to the bill,
country.
The only countries that can be listed are codified in the bill.
Iran,
and they're codified in Congress through a separate bill on adversary nations. Congress would have to amend or create a new bill declaring new adversaries.
So what if it was like pro-American this probably would not happen, but let's just say it was pro-American content, it was conservative content, and Biden says, oh no, we saw how he tried to politicize the death of that child earlier. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is anti-trans or whatever. This is a national security issue. Who knows what they would say?
I personally don't care. If China, so what China started doing, and I think
it's so great, we can make it here.
One of the things that I believe China has started doing is giving conservatives followers on the platform to generate attachment so they advocate for protecting TikTok.
Because then they got a lot of followers, they don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah. I don't believe that TikTok is real. I'm not saying I know for sure. In my opinion, I believe TikTok probably has a lot of bots and fabricates followers and view counts. Mm-hmm. Facebook has done it in the past. They create arbitrary and nebulous means of generating view counts, and they got sued. I believe they got sued over. I could be wrong. Trying to be careful. But if TikTok was primarily producing pro-Trump right-wing content, my opinion would not be any different. And I will give you the simplest bit of proof. Thomas Massie and Rand Paul are wrong, and I'm on Dan Crenshaw and Joe Biden's side on this one. Because I read the bill.
2024 is getting crazy.
I don't care whose team, red, blue, or otherwise. I care what's true and what makes sense. And if your argument is we should allow China to manipulate our young people, as Yuri Bezmenov described, make that argument, fine.
But this isn't a ban just for young people.
What?
This isn't a ban just for young people, right? It's for everybody.
What the principal users of TikTok are young people.
Mostly young people. But what
Chinese Communist Party has control over what they see and hear. Michael Tracy put out this obtuse post where he's like, "Where's the socialist propaganda?" And it was a default homepage for him. And I'm like,
this is great.
It's plainly in when you look at percentages at a macro level and zoom out, and you can see that 2-to-1, the content being shared on the platform is leftist ideological pushes. It's begun to change a little bit, but they are the most censorious of the craziest things. We got suspended for saying the stats show that women who work have the highest rates of depression among of the female demographic. That was a ban.
That
still
was a
on
ban?
We got banned for that.
Was it true?
It's a fact.
So that's crazy.
Because TikTok is pushing a leftist narrative.
But could it be because of the demand of the users being a younger population is more likely to skew left, and that's
if that's the case,
I don't know. I haven't.
And if that's the case, unfortunately, we can't FOIA request a Chinese company. So anything that is a mass media is a weapon. Communications is a weapon. Communications is one of the most powerful inventions in modern warfare. Social media communications is the most powerful weapon ever invented. Yeah, more powerful than nuclear weapons.
And the printing press.
You could subjugate a nation without firing a single bullet by using social media, by using radio, by using television and mass broadcast. I do not believe the CCP should even have 1% say in what these apps are doing in this country. I don't care about Israel. I don't care about Palestine. Israel is the only reason Democrats got on board with this. And my attitude is still whatever. My concern is the CCP, Chinese communists doing what Yuri Bezmenov warned us about. And I've seen that video way too many times to be like, I'm totally fine with literally the Chinese Communist Party building a mass media manipulation platform to operate in our country. And it's clearly infecting the minds of our youth. But because this is about Israel, there's a lot of people on the right who are very pro-Palestine, who are just like, no, we should defend TikTok because it's the only thing that pushes back against them because it's Chinese owned. And I'm like, I don't care about American foreign entanglements. They're bad. We shouldn't be doing it. But I'll wrap it up by saying this. Rand Paul is wrong. I don't get why he's saying these things. It is a fact that ByteDance is Chinese owned. I can't find a single source saying otherwise.
No, I mean, that's been true a long time.
Right. And Thomas Massie, when he posted these snippets, excluded the context.
His argument that it's not Chinese Communist Party owned, but that it's Chinese.
He said it's not Chinese. It's a lie. That's what he said.
But there's no difference between the Chinese
ByteDance
Communist Party and the Chinese government. It's the same. I mean, obviously, it's the same thing.
Well, he was saying, I think in his interview, he was saying that it was owned by investors who are Chinese, but not the
Brian Kilmeade says, who owns ByteDance? The Chinese government. And Rand Paul said, you just told a lie. You can't say something on TV that's a lie by a company. That is an out-and-out lie, and it's provably false, Paul asserted. Well, I Googled it, and literally every source I found says it's Chinese-owned.
Huh. And once you have a company that operates in China, there's always a back door to the CCP. That's just how it's set up.
It's not that it's a back door. It's that it is a public, known about obligation.
Yeah,
your company must have a CCP rep within it.
Right, and there's a lot of kickbacks to the government across the board.
And the other argument that I heard was, well, Facebook and other social media platforms are already selling your data to the Chinese, or they can to the Chinese government.
The issue for me is not about data. The data thing's a problem. I don't really care that much. What I care about is there are very obvious, prominent, far left, psychotic individuals that are being promoted by TikTok. That's a bad thing. And if Instagram and Facebook are doing it, at least we can FOIA them. And what we've discovered is that when Twitter was operated by Jack Dorsey and Vijaya Gadde, we got to file claim.
I want to see the psychos, though. I want to see those psychos that are promoted on TikTok so that we could expose them.
But then you get 14 and 15-year-olds who are told to drink beer. And you can argue, now I know who it is, as the kids go out and start drinking. The point is, if Facebook and Instagram are going to do it, That's a bad thing. What can we do about that? Well, as American companies, we filed FOIA requests. Journalists got leaked information. We exposed a lot of that, and it caused problems for them. China, we can't do that. We do not have access to ByteDance's internal records. We don't have their communications, and we can't file FOIAs against them. We can certainly file stuff pertaining to what they're doing in the United States, but they can hide data in a foreign country we have no access to because they're an adversary.
That's a good point.
There you go. Anyway, let's go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com. Click join us, because this show is only made possible because of viewers like you. Okay, it's made possible in part by viewers like you, but click join us, become a member, and help support the show. Let's read. Clint Torres says, howdy, people. Tim, I saw PBD's response to you, and it went pretty much as expected. I agree with it in a lot of ways and can appreciate what he's doing, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. Was it a separate response from that tweet? Did anybody watch PBD?
I do not.
I'm wondering,
PBD.
do you mean that like he went on his show and talked about it, or that he just tweeted it? Because he tweeted something saying, I trust capitalism, which to me makes literally no sense.
That doesn't make any sense, yeah.
He says, Chris Cuomo is not the right person to do this with. His brother and him are evil narcissists that never in a million years would admit the harm they did to folks. Chris Cuomo is a
Nursing
guy
homes.
who, he would have been a Nazi guard. Chris Cuomo, unquestionably, goes on TV and he says, lock everybody down, force them to wear masks, force medicate them, and the people who are violent in the streets are good. That was what Chris Cuomo did. And then when his brother Andrew killed people, he was like, nah, I'm going to run cover for him and we're going to make jokes about Q-tips. If he was ordered to mercilessly beat people to death, he would do it. No question. He's not the guy for this.
Yeah, it does seem like a real misstep, considering how cruel Cuomo was to everyone else, you know, and power hungry and
the grandparents in the nursing homes.
Yeah. Shane H. Wilder says Pornhub just got pulled out of Texas. Just pulled out of Texas. No pun intended. Let's go. This is a win. Yep. I ain't gonna shed one single tear about it. They're mad that Texas passed age verification laws. How
It's such a weird
insane!
state.
Yeah.
Like, tell me you're creepy without telling me you're creepy,
Yep.
you know?
I mean,
Why,
yeah, a lot of this
why
stuff,
are you trying to stop kids from watching our stuff? It's like,
I mean, yeah, a lot of this
because
stuff
what?
you can just pass legislation to make the left look even more ridiculous than they want to. I mean, you saw DeSantis doing this in Florida with the sexually appropriate content
In schools.
in schools and banning it for K through third grade. I think they started with, and then you had the left freaking out about that.
Jacob Parody says, did someone say it was Pie Day? Celebrate today by ordering a blueberry pie candle from Narbar's Candles on Public Square. We have 3 left. Parallel economy for the win. Public Square just put out revenue information, and they are slaying it. Glad to see they are doing so well. And
They do the debates, right?
Public Square.
Public Square is out.
They're sponsoring Tucker Carlson's
They're
network, right?
they're the parallel economy platform for buying products from companies that support American values.
They're cool.
Yeah, they sponsor Tucker Carlson.
there's actually a
Sponsored a bunch of our shows.
There's a diaper and baby brand called Every Life, and they're working like against abortion and stuff. That's cool.
And the CEO founded it after he and his wife were like, oh, we built this platform and diapers aren't available here. Okay, we'll do it.
Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim Pool says, happy birthday, Raymond. Also, free Palestine from D's nuts. Only the coolest of the cool kids are born in March. Everyone says so.
My birthday's in
true.
March too.
When's your birthday?
March 24th.
Right on. It's a good
Happy
day.
birthday, Raymond. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, March is the best month. March. Chris Noski says, happy birthday to the one and only Raymond G. Stanley Jr. There you go. Amasong says, Gamergate 3.14159265358979323844626.
Yep.
Well, there you go.
I'm assuming Raymond is using the Saturday Discord anniversary celebration as his own personal birthday party, but maybe he's too ethical of a man
Hey,
for
there
that.
you go. Saddle effing Tramp says, my best horse, Kansas Artillery, passed away today at 23 years old. He and I worked cattle and ranches all over the South and West Texas. He was a great horse. He was my friend until we meet again.
Oh,
Sad to hear it. But best of, my condolences.
Sad cowboy vibes for real.
yeah.
Man. I was thinking about it. Animals, the ones that we've domesticated, they're so lucky. Cats, dogs, horses, even cows. So I was out by Freedomistan, and we were driving to get some coffee. And there is this area where there's a bridge that it's like you go down and you hook around, and there's a bridge with a creek. And as we're driving through, we saw like 6 cows, and they were like some with their babies, and they were walking through the creek and just drinking water and walking around. And I was like, I know they're food and they're going to be killed for their beef, but they live the most comfortable life while they do, walking around a fenced off area protected from predators, eating whenever they want, doing whatever they want, whenever they want, drinking water, and in exchange, I get to eat them. They still are lucky.
Still pretty good.
Yeah, the most successful species on this planet, of course, is humans, and the second most successful species will be cows. Because we breed them intentionally, they're never going extinct.
And they never question their purpose. Like humans are out here having existential crisis all the time.
That's right.
What should I do with my life? Cow's fine.
But I was thinking about Mr. Bokus, and I'm like, man, pets rarely have to go through us dying. Some do, If like an old man or woman has a dog and then they pass, the dog is very sad.
And then the
Parrots live
cat
forever.
will eat the owner, right?
Yeah, cats will eat the. But that's because they're smart.
Why did I get a cat? It's gonna eat me.
Yeah, that's the story is I think it was my dad who told me this. A firefighter. He says, you know what a dog does when they respond to a fire and the family has a dog. What do they find? The door will be scratched bloody from the dog desperately trying to break in to save the family. Because the dog can't do anything. And you know what a cat does? He says, well, we don't know. We never found him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you see the trending story, R.I.P. Hammer? There was a UFC fighter, and there's a viral video on Twitter, X right now.
He saved him.
He saved him,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
saved his
crying
family.
because he didn't get the dog.
Oh, wow.
Or cat or dog. I don't know.
He saved his
I
parents.
think dog. He saved his
Was it
parents.
dog?
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is, do you know what happens when when someone, like an old person has a dog and then will pass? They come and they'll find the dog dead of starvation or dehydration sitting
Just,
next to the owner.
Staying there.
There was this,
And when the owner has a cat, they come to find the cat having eaten the corpse to stay alive.
they're a much more brutal
Hammer-
species. But there was this video of this dog. I think it was in Japan. The dog used to walk the man to
Hachiko.
the station. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
He would
And then
just
he
walk.
died, and then the dog just waits there. Like, are you kidding me?
For 10 years.
How am I supposed to live under these conditions?
It's actually better than that. So the Japanese professor, they would walk together to the train, and then Hachiko would come back at the end of the day. And when the train came back in, they would meet together and then walk home together. But one day while the professor was at university, he had a stroke or something to that effect and died. So he never came back. Hachiko waited for him and he didn't come back. And so after a little while, eventually people knew and they tried to remove Hachiko and adopt him out. Hachiko would break free and run back to the train station. And eventually they just stopped trying to, put Hachiko somewhere, and everyone just knew who he was. And it didn't really mean that much to them at the time. They were like, oh, there's Hachiko. He's sitting there, and it's like a sad story. But after he died, they built a statue for him. And I believe March 9th. I think it's March 9th. It's Hachiko Day. Let me double check. It's my birthday as well.
Very
March
sweet.
is a wild month. Seems very busy right now.
March 8th. Sorry. March 8th is Hachiko Day. And it's they celebrate loyalty. And the crazy thing is, so there's a statue of Hachiko in Japan at the station. And apparently someone had recorded audio at the time. This is like 1920s or something. They recorded audio at the train station that happened to have captured the bark of Hachiko. And I guess the record was like fractured or something, and someone found it and they put it back together. And then they announced they're going to be playing it on the radio, and like millions of people tuned in to hear the dog bark. That's wild.
I'm sorry, this dog had a huge impact on his community. Like, if this is not a reason to be involved with your community, I don't know how to tell you it's a good idea otherwise. Like, that's
If the
incredible
dog can
story.
do this for a community and you haven't, what are you doing with your life?
Just by being there and being a part of the community. Like, people were obsessed with this dog. Also, I'm sorry, but it waited for its owner for years. Like,
A decade.
Don't you, like, what?
There's a bunch of other stories
Animals
too.
are wild.
You can look up a bunch of these different stories. There's like a terrier in England or whatever that sat on the grave of his owner until he died. Stuff like that. All right. Bryce Monty says, it's my birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy birthday.
Bryce. What do we got? Michael A says, Tim, I think Patrick Bet David is trying to replace Adam. You can tell by the way he treats him sometimes. He brings nothing to their cast. That's why I think he's trying to replace him with Cuomo. No worse than Adam.
So much tea right now. Look at that.
So is
I don't know.
Cuomo
PBD's this
leaving
very smart,
News
good
Nation?
dude. I just think this is a bad move.
Yeah, where is he going?
Is Cuomo leaving News Nation?
No. He's just
doing both.
adding the talent rotation, I guess, for valuetainment. And he's not the guy for this. He doesn't really have a following. Look at his social media engagement. There's nothing there. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, do you think, like Anderson Cooper announces he's hosting a show, tickets are available online? You think anybody shows up? How many people are going to be like, oh, an Anderson Cooper, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Carl Benjamin did an event he invited me to, and he packs the room. And he's a commentator.
Yeah.
This was a while ago. This was like 8 years ago or something. But we do live events. We sell them out.
Yeah.
I'm like, we've sold out, I think, like up to, we sold, I think, like 800 and something tickets for our Miami event. It was like 1,000 seater. I don't see Anderson Cooper selling more than a couple. Like, cause like people are gonna be like, I don't
the
care.
draw?
Like,
what's
what do
Did
you
you
gonna
guys do a show live in Miami?
Yeah. With Patrick Bet David.
Sweet.
We do live events periodically, and the last one we did, we're going to be doing our monthly events in Martinsburg. We had 50 seats, and we sold it out. Like we sold out all the tickets.
That was a fun event.
Yeah, hopefully we'll do those once a month. We will do them periodically, consistently. The issue with doing it once a month is that means we have to be planning events at the same time as other events. So it requires we have to be planning our April event while we're planning our March event. And then once the March event is about to start, we're now picking up the May event and, But yeah, Cuomo's not the guy. Not the guy.
I agree.
If you're into these stories about animals too, I also recommend the story of Gellert's Grave. Do you guys know that one?
No.
I think I really want to make a short film of this. Maybe Kent can do this. I'll keep it really simple. Prince Waylon, I think you'd pronounce it. It's Welsh. I don't know. He was going out and doing his business. His son was at home with his faithful hound, Gellert. When he came back from chores or whatever he was doing outside, collecting wood, I don't know, he found that his door was busted open and his home had been ransacked. And he ran in, panicked because, his son was left here. He sees blood splattered on the ground and the crib where his son was is flipped over. He then sees Gellert, his faithful hound, walk up with blood dripping from his mouth. Angry that he left Gellert with his son and Gellert killed his son, he draws his sword and thrusts it into the side of Gellert, killing his dog. His dog lets out a dying whelp, which wakes up his son, begins crying. Waylon then runs over and flips the crib over to see his son safe, protected, and a dead wolf that was trying to kill him. And this is a real legend. And they say after he realized what he had done in killing his loyal hound who had saved the life of his son, he never smiled again.
Yeah, how would you smile again? You saved your loyal hound who protected your son and killed the wolf.
I got a great idea.
Also, why would you assume about your loyal hound that he would do anything wrong?
I wouldn't assume that first either.
Well,
That's
some
wild.
say the story's not true. It was a tale told to children so they could understand why you shouldn't jump to conclusions because you could end up hurting someone.
And also beware of wolves.
It's a place. There's a place it's somewhere in the UK. I don't know exactly where, called Gellert's Grave. It was a tree, and you can go up to it, and it says, "Here lies Gellert." But apparently, they did like LiDAR, and there's like no dog there, so it's probably not true or something. It's a great story.
I don't believe that. I like the story better, even though it's tragic.
That's sad.
I mean, the thing is, animals have incredible protective instincts. One of my favorite viral videos is of that cat. Like, there was a toddler. This was like a news story in the modern era, not in whenever. And there was I think maybe a pit bull is not an anti-pit bull message, but like there was a dog approaching a toddler, seemed aggressive, and this cat comes flying out of nowhere and like attacks the dog.
That. Yeah,
That's
like,
cool.
I think it's amazing. Or like that.
Did you see the one where the cat saves the baby from like falling off the porch or something?
Yes. I mean, I give dogs a lot of credit, but cats are protective too. Also, cats are incredibly tolerant of young children. I mean, it's not all of them, but you'll see these videos of like toddlers like asleep holding their cats. Like, this isn't a...
All right, let's read some more super
Pro
chats.
animals. I'm running out of words.
Federale Actual says, Tim is a bad dude for calling people cannibals in the cannibal army when all reports state that it's just to terrorize their population. Wait, isn't terrorism worse? Yeah, NBC News ragging on me and Matt Walsh and Miles Chong for criticizing people in the cannibal army for being cannibals.
Also, I stand by Libby's point, which is like, it doesn't matter why you're doing it. You're definitely a cannibal, whether it's symbolic or for army or for...
That's what I was saying.
Or for religious purposes.
Yeah, cannibals for sure.
I think someone commented that you can't FOIA a private company. And I think that clarification might be pretty important.
Whoa, this is crazy. Leif Hagen says, AI expert on Rogan's show said that large language model AI doesn't have the ability to say, I don't know yet. The seemingly incoherent or made up answers to these questions are called hallucinations. Wow.
That's
I hate that
wacky.
we opened the AI box. I'm gonna level.
You
with all
gotta
of
watch.
Same.
We watched last night the Figure 1 AI video where they have the robot using ChatGPT and voice AI, and it has a fake stutter.
Oh, that's creepy.
Everybody
this.
thought the robot
I
was
hate
going
it
to
so
be like,
much.
"Hello, Libby. Would you like me to wash the dishes?" Nope, they add a fake stutter.
Hello.
So no. It goes. So if I'll give you the general example. In the video, he asked it, "Can you give me something to eat?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure."
No, thank you.
The
You're not
AI
a human. Get out of
The
here.
AI could go, "Yes." If you said, "AI, would you do the dishes?" We expect the AI to go, "Yes, I will wash the dishes." Instead, it goes, "Sure thing, I could do that."
You know, that happens when you call in and it's like an automated phone
Yes.
system.
Oh yeah.
It'll be like, I couldn't understand your question.
I love those things.
I
was in
hate them
Vegas.
so much they make me violent.
I'm being sarcastic. I was in Vegas
they
and I was
literally
calling
make
my
me
bank and it was like, "Hi, thanks for calling. Is there something I can help you with?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm having an issue with my debit card." And I was like, "Wait, I didn't quite get that. Did you say that again?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I'm having an issue with my debit card." And it goes, "Wait, one more time. I didn't get that. Could you say that again?" And I was like, "You're a robot."
Connect me to an agent. Oh, I didn't get that. Connect me to an agent. I couldn't
Well,
get that.
I'm
so-
just like operator, person,
Person,
operator,
there's
get
two
off,
words.
person.
Go
words.
away.
2 words. You never. I guess this is the life hack for you guys. It's going to change your world. If you're ever talking to a robot, there's only 2 words you need to say
I
to
hate
automatically.
reality.
2 words you need to say to automatically get it to switch you to a representative. And you know what those 2 words are?
Self-destruct.
No.
Go away.
No.
Leave me.
Do you guess?
F you.
Really? Then
Yeah.
it gives you a person?
It'll immediately go, "I'm sorry. Let me transfer you over."
Ooh.
Because they're programmed to, when they recognize swearing, realize
Give
there's
it
a
to the
problem.
manager.
Now, however, I have encountered
get
some
some
robots
Karen.
that will respond with, "I'm sorry, we can't help you. Goodbye."
And F you too.
Yeah.
Those are awful ones.
Billy MFP says, "Tim, your call for culture got me to start writing children's books on Amazon. Zombie Baby and 2 Cats. And Trump the Greatest 45th. Thanks for the inspiration." Hey, right on. Congratulations. All right, we'll try and grab a couple more super chats. What do we have here? Tevin Krotek says, "I had an apartment not too long ago, was $900 a month. Now I'm living back home after falling out with my roommate. The same apartment is now $1,800 a month, and I make just over $2K a month. Was a 2-bedroom too." Wow,
Thanks, Joe Biden.
that's crazy.
Rent's wild.
Seems like roommates are a bad plan.
Yeah.
I haven't had a roommate since college.
Bait Juggin says, "Hey, Tim, did you see the clip of Don Jr. asking Tulsi Gabbard about how she would feel if asked to be VP? I like where this is heading. What say you?" Totally for it. Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know if she's
Get
the
the
right.
woman vote. Get the independent vote.
Maybe. She's a military personnel, moderate, post-liberal. So I don't know if she is the best person. I know that I support her as VP and would be very excited to see that, as she was my candidate in 2020.
And she wrecked Harris in the debates.
In the Democratic primary, I wanted Tulsi to win. And if Tulsi
Yeah.
had won, I would have voted Democrat.
Yeah.
And then when it was clear where it was going, I was like, I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was 2019 when Tulsi was running. And I liked Andrew Yang too, but Yang turned out to be a big disappointment. That's unfortunate.
You were Yang Gang? How fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
He did
yeah,
turn
dude.
Disappointing.
Well,
a
like
time.
if you go to his website, Yang had the most comprehensive breakdown of policy plans and everything. It was smart.
Nobody likes him.
Unions for MMA fighters. I mean, union protection. I thought
Now
it was
he has
great.
the Forward Party.
Yeah, and I've donated to them too because I like the general idea of a moderating force among Democrats.
Yeah.
But I think the Democrats are too far gone at this point. They need total party reformation because they've either got warmonger corporatists or crackpot far leftists. And then the Republicans have MAGA, which is just like moderates. And it's funny because the left can call them far right all the time, but the MAGA people aren't even arguing for exactly what they want. And it's actually frustrating a bit. The MAGA people should be coming out right now saying ban all immigration, period, until we can figure out what's going on.
Totally agree.
I'm
Instead,
right
they're
there with
saying,
ya.
let's secure our border. And Trump goes, we can bring them in legally. And I'm like, if the right actually wanted to go for the big ask and have an anti
Start the
position,
negotiations further.
They
it's
do
not just
have
that.
to do that. They
If
do have to
there's
do
no
that.
counter to the left's position. The
Yeah.
left's position is open borders. The right's position is, well, only a little bit.
So immigration moratorium
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
That should
think-
be the
yeah.
right-wing position. We
think
say
so.
no immigration, and we'll start from there. Instead, they say, let's just secure the border and let them come in legally. And I'm like, well, that's where I'm at.
Look-
but I can recognize that Republicans have no counter position to Democrats.
No,
They're moderates.
no illegal immigration, moratorium on legal immigration. We'll see you when we figure some stuff out. I think that's a good stance.
Give us a second to
All right.
recognize we're a sovereign nation.
Yeah.
Alahad says, hi, Tim. Earlier you ragged on Don Lemon because he has no talent, while you are only successful because of your ravishing good looks. Seems ironic. You got me there. The only reason anyone watches this show is because I look so beautiful.
Tim is aware of his pretty privilege.
That's right.
He doesn't need you guys to remind him. He's working on it. He's seeking forgiveness from the correct
Well, I
communities.
realized this when I go out, and the only people who ever recognize me are young women, and they have no idea what my political opinions are.
There you go.
They just stare at me longingly. Quite literally, the people who stop me are all like 33-year-old men. And they're like, hey, we're big fans of the show. And I'm like, right on, fist bump. And then it'll be like a woman, whenever women recognize me, they're like, my husband loves your show. I was like, cool.
That
All
is
right.
cool.
Yeah. There have been times where it's been women being like, I love your show. I try to get my husband to watch. And I'm like, okay, all right. 20% of the audience is female, overwhelmingly male. All right, we'll grab one more. David Glass says, if you do not get Serpentza and Lawai86 on your show, then you are doing something wrong. They are literal experts on CCP and social media. We have been trying to get them on. Perhaps we should get them on the Culture War podcast. That seems appropriate.
Yeah.
All right, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. Go to timcast.com right now. Click Join Us to become a member, and you'll get access to our Discord server to hang out with like-minded individuals. And we're going to have that members-only uncensored show coming up for you in about a minute. You don't want to miss it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. Apparently not on TikTok. We are on TikTok, but I don't even know what our username anymore because, whatever. But you can follow me personally at Timcast everywhere, X, Instagram. Corey, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, now X, at DeAngelis Corey. It's just my last name and then my first name. And then if you want to contribute towards the American Federation for Children, win elections to get more school choice across America, you can go to AFCVF, AFCVictoryFund.com.
Awesome. It's been fun having you here. Congrats on your impending child. That's exciting. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlaw. I'm a writer for SCNR.com. That's Scanner News. I'm really grateful to be a part of that team. I was happy to see Chris Carr was here last night. He's a great executive editor. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and I'm on Twitter at HCBrimlaw. And Libby's here, and I think she's back tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be back tomorrow, guys. That'll be fun. I'm Libby Emmons. I'm the editor-in-chief with The Post-Millennial and HumanEvents.com, and you can check out everything we're doing there, and you can follow me on Twitter at Libby Emmons. Thanks.
And I'm Serge.com, and I will see you in the after show if you remember. Cheers.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com in about 1 minute. Thanks for hanging out.